Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. And happy Festivus for the rest of us.
Oh, I should get my Festivus poll.
You should.
So what was I doing today? Oh, it was the Patreon thing that had all the different holidays. Let me see if I can find that. Not that one. That's the night before Christmas.
Trying to get where my hat will effectively be lit up without blacking out my face here.
Dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. And when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. It has a lovely body with legs so short and thin. When it is so tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. And when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play.
Can't actually hear anything else. Can you hear me over that?
No, that's why I'm playing it.
That's why you're playing it, aren't you? I was going to ask you for a pay rise as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this is the time of year where I go ahead and double everybody's salary.
Well, I at least wanted a Christmas bloody bonus.
I'll give you a bloody bonus.
After I grew this beard.
Get my mensch on the bench.
What's that? Oh, look at that.
A mensch on a bench.
Ah, a mensch on a bench. Is that like a elf on a shelf?
Kind of like that, yeah.
That's funny.
Brilliant.
There are 8 important rules you must follow when you bring a mensch into your home.
And what is that?
Did you really want me to read them to you?
Never mention it.
I don't like his face. It's pretty scary looking.
It is actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
My word.
By the way, how do you pronounce this place in Malaysia? Is it Phuket?
No, Phuket.
Phuket.
Oh, okay. Are you sure? I think my version.
I'll go ahead and read that one. Thank you very much for asking. Instead of waiting until we're actually recording the show to ask how
we used to have detachments out there when I was out working with the Aussies, sort of 6 weeks at a time, out in Malaysia. Just brilliant, absolutely fabulous. Loved it.
Nice,
great, yeah, nice little holiday.
Main man Micah went ahead and put the phonetic pronunciation there for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
I think he was just joking. He was trying to look for some excuse to say it the other way. Come on, we know Nick.
I get the mensch on the bench right behind me.
You do.
He looks very, I don't know, Hanukkah-y. I can't say Christmassy.
Hanukkah-y,
yeah.
Ah, okay, that works.
Maybe I should take him out of the box.
Yeah, you should. Unless
Take
you're
the money, open the box. It was a quiz game in the UK, which you probably won't know.
What's it called?
I'm trying to remember what it was called. All I can remember was that they used to ask the audience whether they ought to take the money they've been offered or open the box
something
to
like
see whether there was a prize.
What was it called, Dana? No, not the Price is Right. The different windows, like.
What the heck? No, Pat Sajak.
No.
Vanna White?
No, that's Wheel of Fortune. The one that
Family Feud?
No, they're actually still doing the show now.
Are they really?
How? Say that again, Nick. What's the name?
Well, the guy used to say, "Should we take the money or open the box?" And the crowd used
Like
to cry,
door
"Take
number
the money,
3.
take the money, or open the box." So,
Deal or no deal?
You know what I'm talking about? Deal?
Deal.
No.
let's make a deal.
Let's make a
Main
deal.
Man,
That's it. Let's make
Main
it.
Man Mike. I don't think it was called that I think it was called Open the Box or something in the UK.
Open the box.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Open your box.
Oh.
There's my mensch. But I'd probably have to turn my lights back on so you can really see.
Oh, I can see him. I can see him quite clearly, actually, yeah. He's in a nice little pool of light. Is he supposed to be in a pool of light?
Better than a pool of pee.
That is very true.
Hey, look what I found. I'm so excited.
What? Oh, you found your mug. Well done.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Very nice.
You have one left.
I got rid of all my mug making equipment for a fellow podcaster, as a longtime friend. And I didn't make these with that. These were ordered from Discount Mugs or something like that.
All right.
But I didn't realize I still had some of these. I have like 6. So they're actually now 5 because I just took this one out.
Cool. They're very nice mugs, actually. Mine's still going strong. Sadly, I just made a coffee when I put it in this shiny one.
Oh, no problem.
Which fits nicely in my new Audi.
Ooh, nice. Are you gonna talk about your new Audi on the?
No, I don't think it's right to boast about our rich airline pilot acquisition on the show.
Oh, come on! They want to hear about these things.
John Brett just called me.
John, does he not have any clue when we're doing the show? Apparently not.
He just hung up.
Oh, maybe he is. Maybe he is watching. Sorry, John.
Let's see.
Getting to know all about. Oh, hey, if you're wondering why we're kind of vamping a bit, we're waiting for. Well, this is just what we normally do. We never start
very
on
true.
time. But
You won't be here until about almost 5.
Really? Okay, then we'll go ahead and start, and then hopefully she'll be here for the getting to know you segment, and then she can be with us for all the feedback and stuff.
All right.
Okay, so let me see if I have everything under control. Of course not. I never have anything.
That would be a first.
I know.
But you never know. Once every 400 odd shows, it would be nice.
John says hello.
Hello, John.
Hi, John. Hi, John boy.
He wanted to make sure. He said, "Let's make a deal." He wanted to make sure we're above 50%.
Excellent. So he is watching. Hey, John. Glad that you're there to help us out.
Oh, that's why we have the APG family.
I remember I had a friend in high school. Her name was Jean, and I'd always greet her. Hi, Jean. Problem?
I bet you were popular. I thought it was going to be a genie in the lamp joke.
No. It never got old. Hi, Jean.
No,
Problem? Okay. Let me play this. Make sure I got the sound levels appropriate.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
W8.
That sound okay?
Yeah.
Did you hear anything?
No. Not a thing.
No. Okay, good. So I don't.
She sent it at 3:45 and said that there's going to be 52 minutes for her to get home.
Oh, on that map thing?
Yeah. That's what make sure. So probably about 4:40, 4:30, 4:40.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Okay.
By the way, I cannot wait to hear our intro with loop-de-loop, flip-flop, Santa's got an airplane.
You know, I didn't get a chance to listen to that, so
it's a Christmassy one.
Okay,
And I'm waiting for Main Man Micah to come and tell me who recorded loop-de-loop, flip-flop, Santa's got an airplane.
Is this some kind of copyrighted music that we're going to be playing?
I don't play much of it.
Okay.
I talk over it.
Okay. Well, hopefully the talking over it, you'd think that would affect it. It doesn't. Their algorithms are pretty fancy. And
it's not very well known. So I think they have to work hard to be bothered to. But there is, there's about 10 seconds 10
Oh, it should be
seconds.
okay. And you know what? Normally it's like they'll say, we're not going to ban your video. It's not a copyright violation, but here's what we're going to do. And I go, we're not going to let you monetize your video. Well, I never monetize my video anyway. So
Okay.
I'm thinking,
I should have put more of it in then.
shouldn't you see that, before you
Yeah.
send me that email that I don't monetize the videos?
Exactly. Yes, that's a good point.
Google, YouTube, come on. Okay, to start without you. Okay, that's for Steph. And we're not. Oh, another. We're kind of walking a tightrope and with no net because our producer Liz is not with us today to kind of keep us straight. Oh, she's.
You want me to take care of time, or you want to do it? Would you like me to do timing? Or are you going?
I got it.
Do it?
I got a timer on my iPhone that I can start. Or you can do it as a backup if you'd like.
Be happy to do whatever you'd like me to do, sir. You are the boss.
Ooh. Okay. Let me think about that.
It is your show. We're just here for your entertainment.
You're here for the ambiance.
I'm just here for the beer.
Here for the beer.
Yeah, I should go get a beer.
Got a lot of good stuff in the getting to know you segment. I'm looking forward to that. Got some meetups and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Oh, which one was real and which one was recorded?
Good
I'm
question.
not telling.
Okay, here we go.
Trade secret.
Okay, let me make sure. Here we go. I'm going to start the timing, and then I'm going to go over here to.
And we need to start recorders.
Oh shoot! Yeah, stop the timer. Okay, push the record button. Thank you, Nick, for mentioning.
You're welcome.
Wow, that would have been a major fail, epic fail.
Wow. There you go. Call me the assistant producer.
Okay,
Hold on.
let me guess. There's a new version of Audio Hijack.
I never seem to get them. It always seems to work ish. I've put the amazing Liz, but she's not there tonight.
No, you should put your name in there.
I'll put Dana's name. And he can carry the can.
Luckily, haven't needed to use your local audio for several shows now, which is good. Makes it easier for me. Oh, no,
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Oh,
I can't hear you.
so just check the settings and audio.
Unbelievable.
He can't hear you.
Test 1 2 test.
That's why I'm going to
Test 1 2. Test 1 2. I hear that. Say something.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I'm right back.
Oh no,
Timing's
we were
perfect.
doing so well
Yeah.
until we started trying to record it.
405. There you go.
Yes.
So all your preparations, your Christmas preparations done?
Nope.
Good.
Yeah,
Are you going to be busy doing
coming up?
choir stuff and
Yes.
services? And
So here's the deal. Because I sing with 3 separate ensembles, one being the big choir. Can you hear us, Dana?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
hold on.
Exit and reset.
On Christmas Eve, there's a 4 o'clock, a 6 o'clock, an 8 o'clock, and then a midnight. But the rehearsal for the midnight mass starts at 9:30. So basically, when I leave the house for the 2 o'clock, so probably around 1 o'clock, I'll be at my parish church.
I was going to say
So-
there's no time to come home in
Absolutely.
between. So
Yeah, and then somewhere in there, I'm going to have to change into a tuxedo. So for the midnight mass, yeah.
Cool.
Don't tell anybody because the tuxedo pants are not really tuxedo pants; they're just my black uniform pants.
Black jeans.
Not black jeans, not quite that bad. But I took the tuxedo pants and tried to put them on. Yeah, it didn't work. No.
All I can recommend is you take your hip flask with you.
Yeah, I need to get one of those. I don't think I have one.
Oh, Lord, I've got
That's a good
dozens.
idea, though.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, because that's good
Are
for
we
the
ready?
throat and singing, right?
Yep, exactly
Okay.
right. Makes your throat better.
Okay. Let's go APG 405 in 3, 2, 1.
Who was late?
I
I don't know. I think it's me.
Do you like my fire?
Yeah, I'm surprised you're not getting a bit overheated.
It's kind of warm. It is, I
Mm.
have to say. Okay. And then Steffi, when you arrive at your home studio, if you remember, turn on your recorder as well. Unless it's asking for a major update to be installed. All right. Do I get double time for? Yeah, I get extra pay. They don't pay me at all. They should.
By the way, I'm wearing my Opposing Bases t-shirt, but I think I'm a few shows late.
Yeah, that's the older one though, right? That's their original one.
Yeah, I'm a cheapskate. I don't think they deserve for me to buy them all in one. Good
No, they
Lord.
should be sending them to you for free, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Okay. I'm gonna hit the. We ready now?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Let's see what happens here.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 405.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 20th of December, 2019.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your ride and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a flight attendant averts potential disaster after spotting ice on the wings right before takeoff. Passengers are evacuated from a Qantas jet because of a hydraulic leak. More news, your feedback, and another edition of Plane Tales. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 405 is ready for pushback.
Thanks, Radio Roger, a real live professional radio TV guy in the biggest market for all that stuff in the U.S., New York City. Thank you very much. And welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast. We've been doing this for more than 10 years, covering the latest aviation news and answering your feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and currently captain for a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia, which, by the way, I just went over my 31st year anniversary with Acme Airlines.
Hey.
And joining me today to help out with all this nonsense from his studio in the English countryside, a professional photographer, former RAF RAAF fighter pilot, former captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Great to be back on the show as usual. What a cop out there. Radio Roger didn't read the title of the plane tale. That's what I was waiting for.
Well, I'll tell you about that. He said, I'm sorry, but I couldn't fit everything. I have kind of a tight a space of time for the intro, and he said I couldn't get it all in without dropping the name of the title of your plane tale, so he apologized.
I just wanted to hear him try and get through it, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, maybe he can record that just separately and send it to you, so you can. Yeah.
Thanks
Also-
anyway, Radio Roger. We're fine.
Okay.
We're good.
And also joining us from the Northwest Atlanta suburbs, barbecue master, motorcycle rider, pleasure boat skipper, underwater photographer, and captain for a major U.S. legacy carrier, which we call Acme Airlines, Captain Dana.
Well, good afternoon, Jeff. Great to be back, and great to see you, Nick, as well. Looking forward to another episode of our fantastic podcast.
Yes, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to
not,
this.
not that I'm bragging or anything and tooting our own horns, but
The
I'd say
world's
people-
best aviation podcast. I
Yeah,
you'd have
I think
to say
so.
it, right?
I gotta say, pretty darn good.
Except for all the others out there that are better. All right. Well, with that, I think let's just jump right on into this week's news segment.
Stand by for news.
A brief timeout while I turn off notifications on my iPhone.
Oh.
Yeah. Right?
Right.
Okay. Somebody just sent me a message on WhatsApp. You know who you are. All right. All right, let's start off with the first item in our news folder for this special Christmas episode. And of course, the news have nothing to do with Christmas, but just thought I'd say that. Item A, a flight attendant prevents potential disaster after spotting ice on wings seconds before takeoff. The Civil Aviation Authority has reported that the plane was already on the runway when the pilots abandoned the planned departure. Thankfully, they didn't say they aborted the takeoff. Well, I guess you could say technically that they did, but I like the way they put it better. The sequence of events is explained in startling detail in the latest report from the Confidential Human Factors Incident Reporting Program, the CAA scheme that encourages airline staff and to raise safety concerns with complete anonymity. The cabin crew member reported that when they closed the aircraft door after boarding was completed, I noticed that there was a significant layer of snow accumulating on the wings. They added, following several aircraft accidents in the past, we know today that an aircraft should not attempt to take off with any snow or ice on the wings. The member of cabin crew said they did not mention it to any other crew because they assumed that the pilots must be aware of the snow and had requested de-icing. But during the captain's pre-flight announcement to the passengers, no mention was made of de-icing the aircraft, even though it's customary to warn of a short delay while the wings, tail, and fuselage are sprayed. Still, I didn't say anything because I was still sure that they were going to do it, the cabin crew member reported. I was also thinking that as experienced pilots, they must know what they're doing, and it wasn't my place to tell them how to do their job. The doors were armed for departure, in which the escape slides are primed to deploy when a door opens, and the crew took their positions in the cabin for the safety demonstration. During the safety demo, I heard the flight crew lock the flight deck door and start the engines. This is when it became clear to me that they had no intention of de-icing the aircraft. The aircraft began the short taxi to the runway. By the time the safety demonstration had finished, the plane was already at the holding point, ready to enter the runway for takeoff as soon as the standard cabin secure message had been passed to the pilots.
This is ridiculous.
Therefore, before beginning to secure the cabin, I told the SCCM, the senior cabin crew member, that there was a significant layer of snow on the wings and that it would be a good idea to let the pilots know. They looked at the wings and agreed with me and called the pilots. They initially replied to standby. The aircraft actually taxied onto the runway, but the planned takeoff was then abandoned. The aircraft taxied off the runway and parked in a holding area. At this point, an announcement was made to the passengers to explain what was happening, and the FO, first officer, came out from the flight deck, asked two passengers sat by the wings to get up from their seats while they shone a torch light over them, flashlight for you in the U.S. They then confirmed that it was ice, went back into the flight deck, and the captain then made an announcement to say that we would have to de-ice the aircraft. During this procedure, the captain called the cabin crew member on the plane's internal phone system to thank them. The captain was reported as saying that during the walk around, part of the standard pre-flight checks, they had seen only snow on the wing, but no ice, and had therefore not requested de-icing.
Hmm?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same here.
What?
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
They have different
Just
rules
say
over
that
there, I
again,
guess.
Captain?
They have different rules over there, Nick?
Nope.
Okay, I didn't think so. And then the cabin crew member reported, my understanding was that there should be zero contamination on the wings during takeoff, be it snow or ice. They're right.
Yep.
In the end, we were delayed so much that the runway was closed due to the snow and our flight was canceled. The member of cabin crew wrote that it was extremely worrying that nobody except myself had noticed the severity of the situation, which potentially could have ended in disaster. The CAA added that the cabin crew member had not used the airline's own reporting system, as they felt that they may be penalized for reporting to the company. The authority concluded if any member of cabin crew has any concerns relating to potential ice or snow, they must raise these as soon as possible with both the SCCM and the operating captain. It must never be assumed that somebody else has already spotted a potential safety issue. It's better to report something twice than not at all. And the captain was asked to comment on this incident. We have a little soundbite here.
I'm in trouble.
Little chap.
Wow, that's I mean that's a good story. Well, it's a good and bad story.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting comment that if this is something that was actually said by the captain, that they had seen snow on the wing but no ice, and had therefore not requested de-icing. I'm thinking,
Yeah,
I'm
that
hoping,
worries me a bit.
hoping, yeah, that was like misreported or something. I don't know.
Misunderstood, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is not a good scenario here.
But I must admit, I don't know, what was the aircraft type? Do we know?
I don't think they said.
No.
No
When
aircraft
you do a
type or
walk
airline.
around, it's not easy to see on top of the wing.
Mhm.
But that's what I do from the gantry when I'm exiting and coming back on the aircraft again. And if I'm a least bit concerned, I go into the front of economy where you can peer out the passenger windows and take a look at the wing. But so you can see snow easily. Now, ice can be a bit of a problem. If it's clear ice, it can just look wet. So it's up to you to look at it carefully and decide whether the temperature's right for it to be ice or just dampness. But this is just crass from the crew. I don't know whether it's the end of a long day or what their excuses are, but no, not good. However, having said that, I'm a little bit worried about the cabin crew training, that she was thinking that it wasn't my place to tell them how to do their job. It's everybody's responsibility on the aircraft, certainly from the crew's point of view, to use all their training and expertise to make sure the aircraft's safe for departure. And that includes glancing out if you see something odd going on, like there's snow on the wings or there's a panel lit loose or whatever. You never assume that someone else has spotted it. You always pipe up, put your hand up and say, excuse me, is that right?
I always mention in my pre-flight briefing to the flight attendants or flight attendant in charge, if I can't talk to all of them, that if there are any concerns by you or the passengers, whether you see something that doesn't look right or hear something that doesn't sound right, please let us know. And just to kind of, reinforce that idea that you just mentioned, Nick, that that's their responsibility to, bring that to our attention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're a
and-
team on that airplane. Sorry, Dennis.
No, and what I was going to say, and I would even go one step further than what you said, Nick, is at Acme we have the ability to call for what's called an upper wing inspection. So we can call for the upper wing inspection, the engine inlet inspection. So if there's any question at all, one bit, then that's the next level I go to, or they'll send over the ice folks and they'll do it as well, just to see what's going on top of the wing, because there's no sense in taking the chance. It's very dangerous. This brings into question to me. It doesn't mention where what airline or where they're based. Maybe they're used to operating in a warmer environment most of the time. There's no METAR here, so we don't know what the actual precipitation was, what value, whether it was moderate snow, light snow, whether the aircraft had spent the night, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that we really can't comment on. But absolutely, if there's any question ever, certainly make sure that the cabin crew knows to bring it up to us. And I kind of do the exact same thing you do, Jeff.
We had just have a few clues in this story here that he had to use his torch to look, peer through the window to look at the wing. So I'm assuming from that it was nighttime or very early in the morning.
Yep. And that's much to the fact that if I can't tell, I always have a upper wing inspection, period.
Yes, Nick.
And I don't know if it's the same with your outfit, Jeff, but when our engineers clear the aircraft for flight, they will have done an inspection. And if they're the least bit concerned, they'll come to the flight deck and say, how much, when would you like to de-ice, guys? Because there's 2 inches of snow on your wings. So,
That's the advantage that you have in your type of operation, the long haul operation, where you have more of that kind of attention paid when you're doing the kind of operation that Dana and I do, where we're doing multiple flights in a day, domestic operation. A lot of the places that we go, most of the places that are away from the major hubs don't have mechanics on duty or engineers on duty.
So it's very much up to you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. It's all on our shoulders.
Yep.
To make sure it's done.
I really wish that the airlines could afford to have licensed engineers at every COF. It's a much safer way to operate. But
it is improving with our outfit. I think Dana would agree because, we've our company has been doing pretty well, making money, and I've noticed there are a lot of places that we go now where we did not have maintenance for quite some time, and now they're coming back, usually in a part-time capacity, but they are actual Acme mechanics, engineers that are stationed there, and so it's improving. It used to be when I first started out 31 years ago, every station that we went had a full-time Acme mechanic there, and it was just routine. You pull up to the gate, and then you give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down, just let them know if you had any write-ups, and they always inspected the airplane coming in and before we left. So
yeah, and it was actually back then, Jeff, it was the mechanics that actually pushed the aircraft back.
Oh, really? I don't recall that. But you're right.
Rampers did not do that.
That's right. Yeah.
So unfortunately, due to economic times and the downturn in the industry, that's when a lot of the outstation mechanics, I think for most of the airlines, as a matter of fact, kind of went by the wayside. And I really do like the fact it's really helping with the reliability and the dispatchability of even our old aircraft and just the whole operation on the whole for having mechanics placed throughout the system. So I absolutely think it's really helping us in the big scheme of things.
I think so too.
But anyways, we don't have all the we don't have all of the pieces to really kind of comment fully on this. We don't, I think there's some training issues here possibly too. I mean that they just don't spend enough time, which leads me to believe that maybe it might be a carrier that's based in a warmer climate, that they don't spend that much time on de-icing scenarios and talk about it as much as a carrier that be based here in the States or up in Canada or someplace else that might be more apt to be in cold weather all the time. Because it almost seems like he's a little nonchalant about it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to item B. And Captain Nick, would you be willing to take on this one?
Oh, most certainly.
Okay.
Do you want me to use my Australian accent?
If you'd like.
No, I wouldn't. I shall stick with my original one. So this is all about Qantas A332 at Sydney, December the 15th, 2019, a hydraulic leak prompts evacuation. And this is from Simon Hardrecki.
Yeah, the Aviation Herald.
Excellent. So this is a Qantas, a 330-200, Victor Hotel, Echo Bravo Charlie, performing flight QF 575 from Sydney to Perth. That's where my old man lives. So that's right from one side of Australia to the other. It'll be a sort of 5-hour flight. I was climbing out of Sydney when the crew received indication of a hydraulic leak. They stopped the flight at flight level 230 and returned to Sydney for a safe landing on runway 34 about 45 minutes after departure. The aircraft vacated the runway and stopped on the parallel taxiway. About 20 minutes later, the aircraft was towed to the apron. Already on the apron, mist began to reduce visibility in the cabin. Passengers began to complain about sore eyes, itchy throats. Once the tow stopped at the stand, the captain initiated an evacuation via slides. Now, that's interesting. Emergency services responded. 2 passengers taken to the hospital with injuries received during evacuation. The airline confirmed that the aircraft was evacuated at the gate. It appears hydraulic fluid entered the air conditioning system. 2 passengers were taken to hospital. A number of passengers complained about sore eyes and itchy throats, but declined treatment. The ATSB have opened an investigation. Passengers described a pungent odor developed on board before the aircraft was evacuated. Passenger photos indicated visibility on board was reduced due to haze or mist. So there's a little bit extra down there, which comes, I think, from SMH, Sydney Morning Herald, I would guess, the newspaper, which says what I have just said, and said, whilst the customers thought there was smoke, there was no fire. The captain ordered an evacuation, and this is just quotes from the passengers, really. However, the Qantas spokesman said, it was the Qantas Fleet Safety Captain Debbie Slade, said the hydraulic system at issue affects the landing controls and flaps on the aircraft. She thanked the passengers for cooperating with the flight crew during a very unusual and probably alarming experience. We'll investigate exactly what happened, including liaising with Airbus before this aircraft's return to service. Sorry. So that's it, really. A very interesting place to have a slide evacuation, don't you think?
Yes, and we all have to be cognizant of the fact that when you have hydraulic issues, hydraulic leaks, unless you know specifically where it's leaking, you need to think twice about what you're doing with some of the other systems, like the APU, maybe starting the APU, but not opening up the bleed valves on it to prevent something like this from happening. This looks like another event of an Airbus 330 involving the APU and leaks of some sort, right? Wasn't that the American A330 that had to divert because of some similar issue, although the APU was not even running? And maybe in this case it wasn't running either. And
I have a feeling that one was down to engine oil, or it was suspected it was engine oil. Hydraulic leak, of course, is every aircraft every now and again suffers a hydraulic leak. I've had probably 5 or so in my career on Airbuses. And it's not common that it will get into the air conditioning system, but of course it depends where the pipe that's ruptured or where the O-ring that has failed, where the leak is. And if it does happen to be near an intake, which is where you're getting the air introduced, particularly on the ground, into the cabin, which is what it sounds like, then there's a very simple way to stop it. You just turn off the pressurization, turn off the air conditioning.
Yes.
And that should, although the air is now static in the aircraft, it will be recirculated. There's no fresh air coming in. That should stop the introduction of whatever the problem is. So I'm not sure. Perhaps they did do that. I don't know. But perhaps also because of the messages they were getting from the cabin, they decided that even though they'd made it to the stand, they wanted to get everyone off on the slides. That's a decision worth discussing.
Yeah, definitely worth discussing. Yes, Dana.
I was going to say, you made an assumption that they started the APU. They don't actually say that, and I agree with you.
They don't.
They don't say that, but I would actually find it very hard to believe that they would keep both engines or any engines running and not have the APU running. So your assumption is probably correct.
Yeah, they were towed back to the gate, so I'm assuming they probably want to have some kind of power on the airplane.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and maybe this is one of these instances that perhaps if one of the cabin crew had immediately contacted the pilots and said, something is weird going on, it smells weird, and we're starting to see some mist, maybe if that had happened and the pilots, as Nick just said, had thought to, oh, I'm going to turn off the packs to prevent any problem with this sort of thing happening, maybe they wouldn't have had to evacuate the airplane.
Yeah, and I don't see anything to indicate that it was the flight deck that ordered the evacuation. Now, I don't know in your outfit what independent rules that the cabin crew have for ordering an evacuation, but sometimes you get relatively inexperienced cabin crew manning a door who might forget their training and think the situation is more desperate than it is, and once one cabin crew blows a door and slide, chances are the whole aircraft will, because everyone looks around and goes, geez, they must know something we don't. If they've blown the slides, we better blow the slides.
A little bit not to blow it up. I want to make sure we're at 100%, or at least about 50%. A little further down in the article, it says the captain ordered an evacuation in response. One woman told ABC News that when the plane reached the gate, everything was fine. And the next thing, the captain goes, evacuate, 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 in a calm but firm, loud voice. The woman said.
Well
so
spotted.
but it could have been a male flight. We don't know that for a fact, but that's
that sounds very much like what the captain would say.
Yeah,
the cabin
exactly.
crew. Yeah. So yeah, in that case, I'll take all that back. Thank you for that.
All right.
Now, the reason that I'm saying that it's
About
not
50%.
good to use your slides at the gate is that you've already got usually an air bridge attached or close, which takes out one escape exit. So, and there's also a lot of equipment around the aircraft once you're at the gate that can interrupt the ability of a passenger to go down the slides. So that it could be sitting on a lorry or it could, and the guys on the ground, of course, there's quite a danger to them when these slides, and they inflate pretty much. They're pretty big pieces of kit when they come out of the aircraft. They inflate fast. It's quite easy to cause injury on the ground personnel if they get hit by a fast inflating slide. So I don't know. I think in retrospect, in hindsight, 2020 vision here, looking backwards, I think the captain would probably now have rather done an evacuation through the jetway, which I think would probably be the best way. Now, do you guys have separate evacuation drills for going down the slides and going down the jetway?
No.
Okay, because we did. We've introduced on our outfit a different evacuation, and they call it a controlled evacuation, which is what you do if you had steps up against the aircraft or you had the jet bridge joined under the aircraft. So the PAs are slightly different, but it's effectively the same thing. You tell everyone to leave everything behind and evacuate in a fast, orderly manner through the doors as soon as possible. So,
and then, of course, they ignore all that and they grab their stuff.
Yes, of course they do. However, the intent is there to get everyone off as soon as possible, but in a controlled manner through the exits rather than blowing slides.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for reading that, Nick, and all the great commentary from the professional airline pilots here, and Dana and Nick and myself. So let's continue with item C. Dana, you want to take on the one about HIWAS?
Sure. FAA to discontinue HIWAS. The federal agency concludes that pilots have other ways of obtaining hazardous weather data. And there's a nice photo of a interior of probably a single engine airplane with somebody holding their iPhone sideways with a radar picture on it. So anyways, continue on with the...
I'm all for holding the iPhone sideways.
Yes, with your radar.
Especially when you're taking pictures.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, here we go. Here's the script. Okay. There are many ways of accessing real-time weather in the cockpit, whether on panel-mounted device or a portable one, eliminating the need for HIWAS Garmin.
I don't know why it says .Garmin.
.Garmin.
That's weird.
Let me read that. We can change that one there. Here
That's
we go.
Kind of an artifact, I think, in the article.
There are many ways of accessing real-time weather in the cockpit, whether on a panel-mounted device or portable one, eliminating the need for HIWAS. With the growing use of real-time weather by pilots who have access to ADS-B in ADSB in or other weather services in the cockpit, the FAA is making changes to its weather-related services. In a notice to the Federal Register issued on December 9th, the FAA announced its intent to discontinue the HIWAS, a hazardous in-flight weather advisory service. For those people that don't know what that means, HIWAS was implemented in the 1980s to allow pilots to access hazardous weather information on a continuous broadcast through VOR frequencies rather than contacting a specialist at a flight service station, which was a general practice for pilots to get weather and file flight plans during that era. The FAA stated in its notice that the demand for such services have dropped from an average of about 10,000 per day to about 900 per day. This discontinuing HIWAS follows a proposed release in July of 2018, where the agency requested public comment. The comment period ended on August 22nd, 2018. A whopping 27 comments were submitted.
Not a lot of interest in this one.
Yeah, there was a huge number. Just a number of commenters include the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Associations, or AOPA, and they cited safety concerns with the removal of this service because pilots may unexpectedly encounter hazardous weather and have no other means to obtain the information. The notice said, moreover, AOPA raised concerns that HIWAS might be the only way for some pilots to receive adverse weather information en route. The FAA said the implementation of the FISB, FIS-B, and the availability of flight service stations for pilots who don't otherwise have access to weather en route would be sufficient for pilots requiring such services.
So what do you think? What do you think about this, Dana? Because you're very familiar with that hazardous weather information system, HIWAS. Being a general aviation pilot, do you think that it's a big deal, or do you think that maybe it's about time now to shut this down? And there are so many other means of obtaining weather information nowadays.
Yeah, I think in kind of as I'm reading this, Jeff, I was also thinking about what we hear all the time, especially during the summertime. You'll hear air traffic controllers come on and say, talk about all these different regions that all this weather is located, and say, you can listen to HIWAS or contact flight service station, and take up a lot of airtime over the radio that wouldn't normally be able to be used for transmitting crucial things like radar vectors and directions and information about what's going on really around you. So as a civilian pilot flying GA, I don't know if Dr. Steph would be more in tune with what's going on today. But when I was flying as a flight instructor, as a general aviation pilot with my own airplane, and or renting aircraft, I can tell you I probably listened to HIWAS about never. So
Steph just chimed in. She says, "I never once used HIWAS for what it's worth."
Yeah, it's not. It was good for what it was if you really needed it, but the reality is even back in the day when I did not have an iPhone or have flight, whatever it's called, that app on the
ForeFlight.
That's right, ForeFlight. Any of those other tools that are available to us nowadays, and the GPS capability. I mean, just let's face it, the general aviation airplanes nowadays usually have far better avionics and electronics than we have in our jet airplanes that we fly passengers around. Not that what we have is not good, but it's just the new fandangled technology is really good. So I think the pilots out there probably have a much better picture of what's going on via what they have in front of them, or they look up before they get on the aircraft, than if somebody's telling them over the radio based on radio or VOR distances and ranges and quadrangles over radio to tell them where this weather hazard could be. So I think it's about time, to be honest with you. I
have strong feelings about like decommissioning so many VORs and that kind of thing, which I think is kind of penny wise and pound foolish myself. But the HIWAS thing, that's one of those things where I'm not going to get too upset about. I think I've listened to it a couple of times en route when you hear that broadcast that Dana is referring to, when the air traffic controllers start reading out all this stuff and they say, that information is available on a HIWAS, blah, 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 blah. And so then I start looking at my charts going, okay, which VOR has the HIWAS capability, which is, you can tune into a VOR and you're using it primarily for, directional and distance information. But if you turn up the volume, believe it or not, a lot of these VORs are actually transmitting audio, and that's where you're going to hear the HIWAS announcement. And it's just a lot of stuff that they cram in, and you have to listen to it for quite some time to get any useful information from it. And honestly, as Dana said, the modern tools that we have, ForeFlight and ADS-B and FISB and all these different things, it's so much more granular and more available. And so I kind of get the fact that they don't really need to keep doing this HIWAS stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's just it's a waste of resources, and there are a couple of resources that are still available for anybody that's really wanting some information. And of course, you've got flight service stations. Okay, they're still around, and the other, air traffic control. I mean, I realize if you're trying to come in someplace like Atlanta, you're not going to get Atlanta approach control to give you any type of information unless there's something really really nasty out there. But usually, air traffic controllers are very helpful if you listen on the radio, and which I've done plenty of, and here air traffic control is controlling or even just giving VFR flight following. They'll point out when there's weather. All right.
Yeah.
So the information's out there, and I think HIWAS is it's so old school.
And we're so sorry for those 27 of you who actually sent in a comment regarding this. Yeah. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, let's move on to item D. This is from the Aviation Herald by Simon Hradke in Austria. Batik Airbus A320-200, registration Papa Kilo Lima Zulu, performing flight 6160 from Makassar to Merauke, Indonesia. Not sure. With 82 passengers, 7 crew, was being pushed back from Makassar's stand B1 at about 2:42 local time, early in the morning, night, dark, when the nose gear of the aircraft rolled over the right-hand foot of the headset man, who fell to the ground.
Ouch. He ran over my foot. I am in incredible pain.
An actual recording at site. The headset man was taken to a hospital and diagnosed with a fracture of the tarsometatarsal. Is that really a thing?
Yeah, it really is a thing.
Okay. The aircraft was inspected with no damage found. Who would think that the aircraft would be damaged from rolling over somebody's foot?
Yeah, after all, the pilots are kicking the tires all the time and it doesn't do any damage.
Anyway, they completed the pushback and taxi about 20 minutes later and arrived at the destination without further incident.
Without running over anybody else.
Yeah, I guess not. And they have a really cool diagram and some other text here regarding this incident if you're interested in learning more about it. But
I love it. There's a little sign saying blood spills.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? So apparently there was
sign. It's almost half the size of the aircraft. Blood spills.
I'm assuming though that it was more than just a break of the tarsometatarsal bone. Apparently, it must have been what is that called? A compound fracture, where you actually
I think so
breach the skin or whatever, and there's blood
stuff sticking out of his foot. Yes.
So what I wanted to mention about this is that I see this all the time. I don't know how you feel about this, Dana, but I do know that you have worked the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And you understand the dangers of working the ramp, especially with big airplanes being pushed around in these tugs. I mean, I don't know how much they weigh. They must weigh thousands of pounds. I mean, some of these things are huge. Every time I see one of the ramp workers, wing walkers, whatever, get into position like he's ready to give you the salute after everything is clear and it's free, we're free to taxi. When they stand behind the tug, it drives me nuts. I'm thinking I would never, ever get behind one of these tugs, because the guy driving the tug may or may not see you standing behind it. And it's so easy. And Dana, you and I know over the last few decades, there have been many instances where ramp workers have either gotten seriously injured or killed.
Yep.
Because getting run over by these things. And I just want to yell out the window, no, get away. Don't stand behind the tug. Stand off to the side so that if the person driving the tug doesn't see you, he doesn't kill you. Do you agree?
I agree that there's a lot of things out on the ramp that are extremely dangerous and that can be harmful to an employee. And the biggest thing that I see, and it affects us even as professional airline pilots, is this thing called complacency. Everybody gets so complacent out there. They just go out. They just you see them salute, and the tug hasn't even left in front of the aircraft. Really, I mean, it's the whole purpose of it is for the aircraft to be completely clear, and you salute and then walk away. Positioning of a person, relative to the tug. I mean, I don't know if most of you have noticed, when you're at the airport, next time you're at the airport, take a look at some of these monstrosities called moving. I don't even know what you would call them. I mean, they're tugs, but they're just moving masses. I mean, they are just nothing but solid steel. And there are several of the older ones. The newer ones are not so bad. The older ones are big, almost like a big square. And it's very high up, and it's very hard for the driver that's up front on it to really see behind it, especially at certain angles, because your viewpoint is from up high. So if somebody's close enough behind the tug that you may not, and short enough, of course, then you're not going to see them. I've had that same exact scenario when I was doing that. So it's a very dangerous operation out there. And aircraft have run over and killed people as well when they're being pushed back. They get caught, pull you right underneath the nose wheel or the main wheel, and it's all over. You just become a pancake.
Well, not only is Captain Nick a tool, but he has a tool in his hands right now. That's okay. It's a family show. It's a scrolling messaging thing on his iPad, and it's saying, "Don't stand behind ... Oh, too late."
That's how I would have communicated.
That's a good idea.
The ground crew.
I need to get that app. That would be.
It's very good. I used it many times for trying to communicate with the ground crew when they didn't have a headset.
So Chance Barber in the Facebook chat is wondering what app is that, Nick?
It's called Scroll something. Hang on a minute. It's
Dead Sea Scrolls.
No, it's called Scroll Roll. Oh, Scrolling Roll. SCROLL.
Scroll and roll. Drop, rock, and roll. Drop.
ROLL.
That's right.
And it's a great way of communicating with the ground crew.
Scroll, and I'm writing this down. Enroll.
Scroll and roll. All one word.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm going to download that.
We'll put that link in the show notes if I remember to put it there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And let's take another technical pause. Steph is having issues getting into the StreamYard.
Just having an issue?
Yeah.
Go to the loo next time.
Oh, by the way, she says that it's not, and we were reading it correctly from the Aviation Herald, the tarso metatarsal, but she says no, it's the tarsal, TARSAL - metatarsal.
Oh, she's playing with beach balls.
Oh, Steph, it's not time. There's no time for that. We need to
find a lake.
She's out there in her bikini, in her little paddle board with a spinning beach ball.
Yeah,
come on,
driving around with a Jeep with the top off.
So she is experiencing technical issues, which is very, very unusual. Let's see. She's so close. So let's go ahead and just wait. Here, I'm going to hit the timing.
It's 99 cents.
Pardon me? That's only 99 cents?
For the scroll and roll.
Yeah, it's good.
We're here.
You'll find it invaluable. I
Oh.
used to interrupt the girls' briefings and tell them what gate we were at just by holding it up to the glass wall of the briefing room, and they all used to go, "Oh, thank you, Captain."
You know, there's something new in StreamYard that I haven't played with yet, and it
Uh-oh.
is. Oh, I
Here we
shouldn't have.
go.
Oh shoot! I shouldn't have said anything. Never mind.
Yes,
I don't see it though. Maybe it's under banners.
that's pretty cool.
Steph's going topless. Yes. You forgot the apostrophe though, Greg. I'm disappointed.
Yeah. If we're going to put it up on the screen, Greg, then you need to put the apostrophe in.
Yes, I'm very particular about that. So I don't see it, but supposedly we are supposed to have the ability to have what do they call those things? Scrolling, like a scrolling
messages.
message at the bottom of the window.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so what was the name of the thing again? I'm gonna see if I can find it while we're waiting for
Scroll,
stuff.
SCROLLN, scroll and roll, ROLL.
Oh, okay. Okay, Steph, hang on. I have a lot of things going on here, like looking for scroll and roll.
Oh my God, I'm frozen again. Really?
That must be Steph's fault. Got to be Steph's
It's
fault.
all going wrong.
Oh no.
Scroll.
I'll be right back.
Roll. Okay.
At least she's not giving you the stink eye this time.
I just put in the search for scroll and roll, and it says scroll and troll. Scroll and troll. No, not troll. I must be spelling it wrong.
I've just put it up on the
Where?
On the chat room chat.
Okay. I see it. Scroll. That's what I put in. Scroll and
interesting.
roll. And it doesn't seem to know anything about that. Come on. Huh. Well, I can do this later, I guess. Oh, here it is. Scroll and roll text scrolling.
It's the fella.
99 cents. What a bargain.
Yeah, an essential part of your EFB.
Yes. I'll get reimbursement from the company.
Yes. Hey, man, Mike has got it now. So he can flash messages to his neighbor.
Oh, looky. Looks like somebody is trying to join. Although it says devices not connected. Evidently, Steph has the power went out in her house the other day, and now all of her saved passwords are no longer on her computer. You need to get a password manager, Steph. LastPass.
There she is.
Want me to add you? There she is.
Hey! Oh,
having serious technical issues here. I'm seriously debating just restarting the computer again, and because it's like, yeah, it's not good.
You're here though, and you've got a shiny hat on and everything.
I've misplaced my beer now, so that's really the first problem that I need to
go
fix.
get that because Dana's having issues.
Your beard? It's all right. We've got
beard?
one beard. We don't need another beard.
Beer.
Beer.
No D.
Beer.
All right. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Well, if Steph's going to get another beer, I'm going to get another beer.
Well, I am too, but I'll wait till everybody gets back before I leave. And I will do this. How about some Christmas music? Wish you a Merry Christmas. Wish you a Merry Christmas. Wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hello, everyone in the live chat. Here, let me turn the volume down on that music so you can hear me. So nice that you are able to join us on this Friday, the 20th of December. Basically, I think for a lot of people, this is going to be time off until Christmas time, right? Maybe there are some of you out there that have to work on Monday and Tuesday. Hopefully not. I'm off until the 6th of January. So I can pick up some time if I need to before the 24th, where I go officially on vacation. Do you have your beer, Miss Stephanie?
I do. Sorry, I can't
Good.
get my headphones back in with my hat on.
No problem. So I'm playing a little Christmas music in the background for you there.
I hear that.
Trying to get you in the mood.
Oh,
Christmas time.
all right. Oh, Christmas mood. Got it.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I don't know. You just said in the mood.
Let's see. So,
I'm
Nick's
beat
back.
up.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to grab myself another beer.
Why didn't you go when we were all getting old?
That didn't work very well.
Oh. Hi, Dana. You're back.
Yep.
Unfrozen and everything. Look, we got a Steffi
Unbelievable.
baby.
Yeah.
Beer break.
Beer break.
Yeah. All the audience need to get a beer too.
Yes. It's mandatory, actually.
Absolutely. Even TO18, I'm not quite sure how old he is. He appeared to be very young.
Yeah, he
Oh,
said he
very
was
good,
younger
right?
than he wasn't as old as
Listeners. Oh, you love listeners.
Ah, very nice, Dana.
Hi, APG
Listeners.
listeners. Very
He's
good.
so
It even does it in a Boston accent. That's great.
listeners.
Not quite.
You did drop that R off the end there. And
Yeah, listen up.
So it is beer time, so I can run and grab a beer now? No,
Yes, please do.
Problem resolved. I'll be right back.
All right, and I am. My selection today is Scofflaw Brewing Company, POG Basement. POG Basement. I'm not sure what the POG stands for.
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm still with them. Does it say?
Passion fruit orange guava. What are you doing?
Oh, there you go.
You sure that's beer? It sounds more like
It's-
fruit juice.
I thought it was
Mixed
actually
kind of
the
beer.
regular basement. I didn't know it was the fruity version of it. Oh well. But are
I
you
still
doing
have a
it?
celebration.
Oh, I wish I don't think they had it when I looked yesterday when I bought this.
I stocked up, so I should be good for a while.
You know what I used to do in Georgia? They had a very limited distribution of it here, and so when I find it in a liquor store, you'd never see it in a grocery store.
Mm.
If you went to a liquor store and I saw it, I'd get like 2 cases of it.
Yeah, that's what I purchased the last time I bought some.
Ghost Ship Adnams.
Which is actually quite an apt beer considering today's plain tale.
Oh,
More will be revealed.
you're such a teaser.
I know.
And you did, just to be clear and keep us on the above the 50%, you pronounced it correctly, tarsometatarsal. I was just trying to, you sound like you had some doubts about it, so I was just trying to clarify it was.
Well, because there were because it was all one
Lot
word.
of-
I know, that's why I separated.
A lot
Well,
of cheese in it.
correct, I think messed it up as well, but I separated it so it made more sense.
To me, it looked like they had an extra.
Tarsometatarsal. We do that all the time. We
something.
connect. We can connect. It's
Yeah, I did have
Connect-
doubts about.
connected things. I know. I heard it. That's why I was trying to clarify slightly. Anyway, an open fracture was the word you were looking for. If there's bones
Oh.
sticking through the skin,
Compound.
compound is multiple pieces. Yeah,
Darn it!
close enough.
I guess I'm never going to be a doctor.
Thank the Lord for that.
Doctor of aviation, maybe,
Maybe.
Oh, really? Mm.
but I do have a BS in aviation.
Yeah, we
Very
know.
appropriate.
Yes.
I did too, actually.
A lot of BS. Oh man!
Why is my mouse isn't? I actually don't think it's the mouse. I think it's nothing wants to open. Like links don't want to open. Like I click on things and it just
Oh,
stares
no.
at me.
Yeah, that sounds like
Like,
a
I
full reboot to me. If it's going to be a problem for you, why don't you just go
I
ahead?
can't open anything, like any of the
Okay.
news articles or
Just reboot everything and come back.
Okay, you guys keep going. I will. No, just keep going. It's
keep
okay.
going?
I'll be, yeah, it's good.
All right.
Keep going.
Okay.
right.
Bye bye.
Bye.
I
can't even leave.
Sorry.
Hotel California.
Yeah. Excellent. Oh, Dana's got Merry Christmas going now.
What have you done now, you monster?
I don't know. It's great
Created
fun.
another monster. Oh, I can
No,
see the
yes.
porn site in the reflection of the
Yes.
your screen. You might want to put something over that. Right next to the mensch. The mensch on the bench. Okay.
Very good.
I will not let Nick read this one. I'll go ahead and do
Oh,
it.
thank you.
Yes. And you know why. Item E.
Just doing it phonetically.
I know. A KLM Boeing 777-200 near Phuket on May 9th, 2018. There was a thermal runaway of a passenger's mobile phone. And they were flight 809 from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. It was en route at flight level 390, about 100 nautical miles northwest of Phuket, Thailand, when the crew decided to divert to Phuket due to a passenger's mobile phone overheating and emitting a lot of smoke. The aircraft landed safely in Phuket about 20 minutes later. The airline reported flight 809 from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur made a stopover in Phuket. Okay, we're going to say the same thing again, aren't we here? Smoke accumulated in the cabin when a passenger's mobile phone overheated. The crew handled the situation well, and the captain opted to land the aircraft as a precautionary measure. I'm going to skip to the good stuff here. Looks like a passenger in the business class cabin had been asleep, woke up, put his seat into the upright position. I can kind of understand that. You're a little groggy after sleeping a little bit. So probably pushed the button that returns the seat to the upright position, and that crushed his mobile phone, which as a result suffered a thermal runaway of the lithium-ion battery. A significant amount of smoke was released, concentrated in a small portion of the cabin, which was separated by curtains. Yeah, again, if you go to sleep and the phone just kind of falls down and gets into one of those cracks, crevices, whatever, of that seat, and then you just hit, make the seat return to its previous position, I can see this happening. And I think it actually happens quite often, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so often that our crews are trained, and we actually have it all on all paperwork on the aircraft. The people in seats like that, they're instructed that if they drop something, then they're not to move their seats. Call cabin crew, and they will deal with it. But of course, if you're asleep and you didn't realize it, that's going to happen.
Yeah. So let's see. The cabin crew used halon fire extinguishers and about 10 to 20 liters of water. I'm not sure the halon really does much for one of these fires, but I think the water really does at least help to cool down the batteries. And
I think if the seat is catching a light because of the flames coming out of the torch, then the halon will probably suppress that. But
good idea.
Yeah, mainly water is the trick with this, isn't it?
Initially, the cabin crew could not move the phone out of the seat. The use of a fire axe and a change of seat position finally permitted to extract the phone from the seat. The crew subsequently secured the phone in a container filled with water and placed in the aft galley as dangerous goods. None of the crew had used oxygen masks or protective gloves. Two cabin crew reported irritations in the respiratory tract, as well as the eyes. Your choice on those pronunciations.
Come back, Steph.
Two other flight attendants received, I should cut down on the beer drinking, apparently. Two other flight attendants received minor injuries to their hands. The captain decided to divert to Phuket, and he was quoted as saying, never mind, due to concerns over the quantity of water used to extinguish the thermal runaway and the possibility that the seat was still smoldering. Yeah, good idea on the captain's part. Let's get this thing on the ground. We had a fire, and we're not sure it's out. The occurrence was rated a serious incident and is being investigated. A picture of the phone, the very, very mangled phone.
Yeah, I made a mess of that.
Yeah.
I'm a little disturbed that the cabin crew, when they say use oxygen masks, they don't use oxygen masks, they use smoke hoods. Because mixing oxygen with a fire is not appropriate, so they don't do that. Having said that, they also should have fire gloves. So it doesn't sound like they treated this like a fire incident. I don't know quite why, because our crews are so well drilled. In who is at the front of the position. You've got a timekeeper making sure that the smoke hood bottles are replaced regularly. You've got a communicator. Everyone falls into place in a particular role when you're dealing with the cabin fire, and it's very well drilled and taught in most airlines. So I'm a little surprised that they didn't do what I would expect them to on this one, and particularly since it's KLM.
Would you say that the crews at your previous airline were well drilled?
Very well. Yeah. I can't speak from my personal.
Of course not.
No, but
Only
exactly right.
Secondhand information.
Yeah. But no, not from personal experience. But the KLM crews, you think they I'm scratching my head going, they're pretty switched on normally. Bit surprised.
We, even in the lowly airplane that Dana and I fly, we have those heat gloves or whatever you call them.
And bag. Yep.
Yeah. Containment system or whatever. It's just a trash bag.
Mind you, they're not good when mixed with water, sadly. So if they're pouring a lot of water around, when those gloves, when they get wet, they will start conducting heat now.
Yeah.
So they're not ideal. Now,
It's a
Owen,
gray bag, Jeff. Remember the gray bag.
Yes.
Owen's just entered the chat room saying all cabin crew are well drilled.
Okay. Well,
apparently
that's a good thing, I think.
Yes, we do. We think that we applaud that.
We do applaud that. Oh, we have to play this, of course, after all that.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Thank you, Matt Smith. He's always here in the background somewhere waiting to chastise us and remind us that it is a family show.
Quite right.
All right. Moving on to the next one in the news folder, F. Boeing is suspending production of the 737 MAX in January. Not a big surprise here, is it? Boeing will halt production of its 737 MAX narrow-body jet in January, escalating the company's crisis as it prepares to end a year marked by accidents, scandals, and a plummeting public perception. The Wall Street Journal first reported the halts, citing a person briefed on the matter. This is from the businessinsider.com. The prospect of assembly being halted was raised over the weekend. Boeing first suggested in July that it could slow or suspend production if the jet remained grounded going into 2020. Boeing 737 MAX has been grounded worldwide since the crash of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, the second of two fatal crashes involving the jet within 5 months. And I think that was in March, wasn't it, of this year? The plane maker's Renton, Washington factory, where the 737 MAX is manufactured, employs 12,000 workers. A Boeing spokesperson told Business Insider that no furloughs or layoffs were expected at this time, and that employees would continue 737-related work or be temporarily assigned to nearby teams. It was not clear whether Boeing's other facilities could absorb employees throughout a prolonged production halt. Throughout the time the 737 MAX has been grounded, Boeing has continued to produce new units for customers, but it reduced its production rate from 52 planes a month to 42 starting in April. However, because of the grounding, Boeing has not been able to deliver the planes to customers and collect payment, which has led to a growing pileup at Boeing's various storage facilities. The manufacturer said it had a backlog of 400 undelivered planes in storage. So, more bad news for Boeing, and apparently more bad news for Steph as well. What's going on?
She needs a code. Needs a new code, apparently.
Okay. Here she goes. There you go. Why she put a picture of a telephone?
Yeah, because of my comment, I think. Please hold. Your call is important to us.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, the code is on the way.
And now, of interest, of course, it affects places all around the world, and it's been on the news here in the UK that a number of UK aircraft part manufacturers are going to suffer the same problem as a lot of the manufacturers in the United States, in that they are, going to stop working. And Boeing provides a lot of business to small businesses all around the world. And with the stopping of production, it's going to affect economies in all sorts of places you might not consider.
True. The trickle-down effect of something like this is...
Yeah, and some of these small manufacturers, this might be a major part of their company providing parts for Boeing. And when all of a sudden they're told they're not needed anymore, they are now sort of left hanging.
Yeah, one of the big manufacturers out there that is involved in the making of all the 737s and other models of aircraft that Boeing produces is Spirit, which is not the same as the airline Spirit or Spirit Wings. But this company said that it's going to affect them. Like they do 50% of their work involves creating these fuselages.
Wow. Oh, and that's dreadful news just before Christmas. I mean, it's dreadful news any time of the year, but with everyone's overheads and costs at Christmas, you just don't need to be having that worry on top of everything else.
Yeah. Welcome back, Steph.
Thanks. Sorry, I had myself muted, so I.
So, do we have all the quirks and?
Fingers crossed. It seems to be working okay at the moment. It took forever to reboot, and I do apologize, dear listeners.
No problem. We were just vamping with our news stories.
Good. Okay.
But I'm glad you're back for this last one because this is a good one.
Oh, we're into the last one here. Yes.
Yeah. G.
Okay. Got it.
Aircraft sustains substantial damage. A teenage girl broke into Fresno Yosemite International Airport and stole a plane before crashing it into a fence, officials say. The unnamed 17-year-old, let me try that again. The unnamed 17-year-old breached the airport perimeter fence in California at around 7:30 a.m. local time on 18 December, which was, we're recording this on the 20th, so just 2 days ago, according to local police. She climbed into a King Air 200 small propeller plane. Obviously, the person writing this from
does not have any familiarity with small planes.
It's not a small propeller.
Not a small plane. It does have propellers.
Yes.
And it's not as big as the 737 we were just discussing, but it's not what I would call a small plane.
152.
No,
And it's also, you don't need a type rating to fly it. However, you are required to have a SIM checkout in the airplane. So it's required for insurance.
Is that what they're going to charge her with, flying it without a SIM checkout?
Probably. Anyway, so she climbed into the King Air 200 propeller plane and started driving it around in a circle. While the jet never became airborne.
What?
While the jet never became airborne.
What?
Not a jet.
It's not a jet. It is a jet engine, but it's a turboprop.
Yeah, substantial damage was sustained by the aircraft after the young woman crashed it into a fence.
Whoops.
Calderon, the airport's public relations officer. Come on, if you're a public relations officer, you should know that it's not a jet. Anyway, airport and Fresno police attended the scene after receiving a 911 call. They found the girl in the pilot's seat and wearing the pilot's headset. Thankfully, we have some audio from the cockpit voice recorder.
Yay!
Actual audio from the voice recorder there. So she was having fun, apparently. She seemed disoriented and was uncooperative, according to Ms. Calderon. The girl was arrested and taken to Fresno County Juvenile Hall on suspicion of theft of an aircraft.
Suspicion?
We are suspicious. Suspicious.
Someone stole an airplane. She was the only one of it. We suspect.
Her boyfriend,
innocent until proven guilty.
That's right. Her boyfriend had something to say about this whole thing when interviewed by a local TV outlet.
She's a crazy psycho host beast, and I don't know what to do. You got to help me, man.
So, no passengers or commercial airlines were ever at risk in this incident, according to the public relations officer. The motive is still under investigation, but there's no indication of any ties to domestic terrorism.
A little bit of a leap there, yeah.
Well, they're trying to become important there at the Fresno Yosemite International Airport, apparently. They're working with the Federal Aviation Administration to investigate. Okay, so I thought that was fun.
Yeah,
I think did I read somewhere that she only managed to get one engine started? So
that's why she was
going in
circles.
Didn't understand the premise of.
Yeah.
I wonder. Do you think that she was like a student pilot or something? I mean, how could she?
How would she know how to set?
You could be, but I don't. The King Air starting procedure is a lot different than just turning over the key in the 152.
You want to know what?
Is, but yeah.
This might be a case of somebody that uses a simulator, i.e., flight sim, that can get in on the flight sim and you figure out how to start the airplane in flight simulator. Well, the airplane's just the same. So you get into the airplane, you can do the same procedures. You don't need a key for King Air.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
do we need a key for our?
What?
I don't think we do. No.
For ours?
Yeah.
I carry my set around with me all the time.
Master key.
Yeah, the master key.
All right. Well, that was fun.
I mean, I hope she's gets whatever help that she needs.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's got bigger
Well,
issues.
she's a
to sort
juvenile,
out.
so that's going to be helpful for her. As far as charges
Yeah,
against.
but still, it takes a lot to just say, let's just go to an airport and fire up a plane. And
Yeah, there must be more to it than.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Getting to know you. Getting to know all about you. We want to know all about you, and perhaps you want to know all about us as well. And this is the segment of the show where we get all caught up on what we've been doing out there with our personal lives and also with our community members. We got a lot of stuff to talk about on this particular segment. I don't even know if we're going to have time for feedback after this, but we'll see. So let's see, who would like to go first and get us up to speed?
Steph.
Okay. Mine won't take that long, so I'll leave plenty of time for the rest of you with all of your fancy things going on here. Mostly because there was a aviation community meetup. However, we did not record any audio or anything useful for the show. Sorry.
Way to
Did I
go.
just freeze? Or am I okay? You're all frozen.
Oh,
I'm good.
I'm frozen.
Okay.
I'm warm.
All right. Well, as long as you can see and hear me, okay, I'll continue.
Yeah, you're still
can,
moving.
yeah.
We can see you moving.
Okay, excellent. It's computer gremlins today, ladies and gentlemen. I have no idea what's going on. Anyway, so yeah, this past weekend, took a little trip up to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Was that this past weekend? Yeah, that was. Okay. Sometimes I forget what I've already talked about on the show. What I haven't. So I went and this was a trip that dispatcher Mike and I had set up. I am a Bears fan and he is a Packers fan, and those two teams with their very storied rivalry over the past 100 years. This was actually the 200th meeting of those two teams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So,
200 years?
200th. Yep. Well, not 200 years, but 200.
That long?
200th meeting.
Oh,
they
200 meeting,
yeah.
not 200 years.
No, both teams have been around for 100 years. So.
Back in the Revolutionary War days.
Exactly.
Playing football.
And that was just coincidence, but we wanted to get it doesn't matter what team you're rooting for. Lambeau Field is a cool place if you're a football fan. Lots of history there as well.
And the Bears creamed the Packers, didn't they?
The Bears lost to the Packers.
But it was a close one.
It was a close one.
They could have won it. Or
yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. They didn't look nearly as lively as the Packers for most of the game. So, but that didn't matter. We had a great time. My dad and I went up. We met up with dispatcher Mike and his cousin, who is local to the area, was nice enough to chauffeur us around a little bit and provide some brats and beers. So that was great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. As you do in Wisconsin. It was very cold. I forget the actual high temperature, 17 Fahrenheit. So
yeah, man, when you first got there, it was like 6 degrees Fahrenheit. Wasn't
it? It wasn't very warm. Our beer was freezing, so that tells you something.
Yeah, we have some pictures of the
frozen beer.
That's frozen on the beer. That's cold.
Yeah, if you don't drink it fast enough, it ends up with like kind of slushy texture to it. But yeah, it was a great day. I flew up from Chicago that morning because of other engagements on Saturday. Was running a race, so couldn't get out of Charlotte very quick to get up to Green Bay on Saturday night. Great flight up from Chicago to Green Bay. Really long flight, all of like 30 something minutes, I think.
That long?
If that. And most of that time is actually taxiing around at O'Hare. Anyway, we had a almost unmanned flight. So the entire cockpit was female pilots, lady aviators, and there was one lone male flight attendant on the flight, but he was great. Mm-hmm. And even the jump seater was another female pilot. So
cool.
Yeah. And Mike got that's right. Mike was able to get a photo of us on a final because you come over the stadium there. So they were already tailgating and drinking beers and eating brats as we were en route. Yeah. And actually was able to share that photo with the captain of the flight. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. So our network there. So yeah. Lots of fun. And yeah, looking forward to more adventures in 2020.
That's it? I thought
I
you were
don't know.
going to say more about that. That was we were following you in the social meds and your.
Well, and then lots of good beer was consumed. Actually, Georgia beer. We had Terrapin beers. We were surprised. We have no idea why.
Strange to me because when I saw the picture of you and Mike holding Terrapin Brewing, which is Athens, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's Athens, correct.
Yeah.
So we had a Hopsecutioner.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Thinking, well, obviously Mike brought those with him.
No, we purchased those at the stadium. Yep.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, gosh, what else? I don't know. Turned
So, I
back
mean,
around.
was it like really, really cold? I mean, were you able to really enjoy it, or was it?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I was dressed very appropriately. It was sunny for the first third of the game in our seats. Then the sun kind of set behind the stadium. Got a little chillier there, but never lost feeling in my fingers or toes at any point. So that was good.
What about the last play of the game? Was that exciting in the stadium as it was on TV?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I still had the sense that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Wasn't good.
Very cool.
But anyway. Yeah, and then we basically just turned around and came back home. So not much more to say about that, but it was a great time. Really enjoyed it.
All right. What else?
That's all I got.
That's all you got? Stuff.
I've been working all week.
All right. Well, you know what? The rest of us have some.
I told you I was going to leave plenty of time for.
Okay. Well, you know what? On I forget which day, Dana can remind me. Somebody in our community, Captain Rizzo, who has it's a great T-shirt, just the tip. He gives tips about flying airplanes, and it's a wonderful T-shirt that I cherish. He is from Austin, Texas, and he ended up coming up to the Atlanta area. Unfortunately, I think it was Saturday.
Yes, it was Saturday.
I was busy on Saturday. I couldn't join Dana and Captain Rizzo, Nick, at the. Well, let Dana tell you about this.
Sure.
Oh, you want me to play the?
I thought you would play the audio.
Okay.
You were just queuing up for the audio.
I just thought you were going to say something before I played the audio.
No, go right into the audio.
I'm going to play the audio now. This is very professional right here, what we're doing.
Hello, APG community. This is Captain Dana, and I have the distinct pleasure of having a last-minute meetup here in the wonderful...
Whose phone is making all that noise?
It's not me, because I'm muted.
No, on the recording. Here we go. So listen up for the dings on the iPhone while this recording is going on.
Well, hello, APG community. This is Captain Dana, and I have the distinct pleasure of having a last-minute meetup here in the wonderful city of Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, we're just in the northern suburb, just outside of the world-famous Peachtree DeKalb Airport. However, the gentleman that I'm going to introduce here in just a minute flew into Gainesville, Georgia, which is up by Lake, I almost said my lake that I'm on all the time. That's Altoona, but it's Lake Lanier. It's about a 40-minute drive from where we are, and about 40 minutes as well for me. So we kind of met right here in the middle at a place called Bobo's Garden. I think I've talked about it on the show before, maybe, but it's fantastic, authentic Chinese food. So we just had a very nice meal, had some good liquid libations called H2O because we are meeting up as he's in the middle of a layover, and we'll be flying out later. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce Captain Rizzo, world's okayest pilot and CFI. Here he is.
Hello, everybody, and appreciate that introduction, even though it may be putting me up on a higher pedestal than I deserve to be on, but we'll leave it at that. Been a great time sitting here with Captain Dana talking about all things aviation and alcohol, because I guess that's just our two favorite things around here these times. But anyways, we missed Captain Jeff. He had something else to do, or it was just a bad excuse to not hang out with me again. So other than that, great food here at Bobo's. You're in the area. stop by here, Lo Mein. The dumpling appetizer, pretty solid. Can't go wrong there. And of course, you can find me on the Slack too if you want to hunt me down and ask me questions. But Captain Dana, I'm going to interview you now. So, Captain Dana, can you please tell me what was the most awful thing about our meetup today?
Well, actually, I was going to pass the mic back over to you there, Captain Rizzo, because you didn't tell anybody about your background or what you're flying and how you ended up here in Atlanta. So I'll answer your question after you answer mine.
All right, fair game. All right, so I'll tell you a little about my backstory. I came from a software and instructional design background primarily, and about 3.5 years ago, at the age of 36, I decided I just wanted to pursue the dream of flying airplanes. So started my pilot training about 3.5 years ago. Just worked through all my ratings, became a flight instructor, and once I approached about 1,000 hours, that was about 5 months ago or so, I was lucky enough to get a job flying a Lear 45 for a private owner. And that's actually what brings me here today. Flying around, landed up in Gainesville, had a few hours, and decided I was going to meet up with Dana here. So now you get to answer my question.
What's the worst thing about meeting up with Captain Rizzo today? He has more hair than I do. I'm jealous. That's yeah, he does have pretty hair. If that's the worst thing I can say, it was a great meetup. Just really enjoyed spending some time with Captain Rizzo, and just talking about, as he said, all things aviation over some really good food. And thank you for reaching out to me. I'm glad we can make it work. And yes, Jeff, we do miss you. Hopefully next time we'll get you out. Anyways, on that note, I'm going to send it back to you, Jeff, in the studio. We'll talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dana and Captain Nick Rizzo, for that. I was hoping to have a picture of Captain Rizzo's Lear, what did he say, 45?
Yeah, it's Lear 45.
Very nice, but apparently I had some tech issues here. So just use your imagination. Looks
I thought you were just using the graphics from the last episode, 404.
Yeah.
Apparently so. The people are listening to the audio.
Oh, sorry. It was the file not found.
It's amazing.
Well, I can actually give a brief description. Most people know what the Lear 45, but it is a real pretty photo of the Lear 45, white top of the aircraft with some a dark colored bottom with some streaks going on from the nose up towards the engine, towards the back. Well, obviously the engine's in the back, but towards the back, underneath the windows. But what's really pretty about the photograph, it's in a sunset type of shot with a really beautiful sky behind it.
Yeah.
So, but
very nice.
I really enjoyed meeting up with Captain Rizzo. Nick, it was a very enjoyable meetup, and he asked me a question I was kind of taken back by, because it was just a great time to get together, and there really wasn't anything bad about the meetup, so that's why I came up with his hair, because he does have very nice hair. Not that I ever noticed that, but
I really am sorry I wasn't able to meet. I because I'm involved with the singing stuff on the weekends. I couldn't get away from that. So
I'm glad I was around. I mean, it's unusual. I'm around on all weekends, so it at least we missed you. You were there in spirit, that's for sure. But that's really all. That's really the only update I have.
Okay.
Since then, I do have one thing. He asked me to mention his Instagram, if that's okay.
Yeah.
His handle is at Xplane Junkies, XPLANE Junkies, JUNKIES. That's his handle.
Yep.
So there it is.
He also has a YouTube channel as well, the same name, Xplane Junkies. If you do Junkie, that's some other kid that has a channel on YouTube. So make sure you put the S on there, Junkies. And thank you, Nick. Next time you're in town, hopefully I'll be able to meet up with you as well. Looks like that restaurant that you guys went to was pretty nice.
It's what I would consider a dive, but it's.
I mean, as long as the food's good, I don't.
Oh, the food's fantastic. You just can't top it. It's as close as authentic as you can come come to here in the States, well, at least in the Atlanta area, they have live fish that they go in the tank. They take the fish out. You picked out the fish. They take the fish out, and it gets hit on the floor to knock it out, and then it gets cooked. So, I mean, the menu is mostly in Chinese. With pictures, you point to the picture. I'll take that. And everything we've had there has been fantastic. One time we went in there, and the guy, we were looking at the menu. He walks over and he says, "Oh, you don't worry about ordering. I'll take care of you." He brought out one spread. I have no idea what he brought me, but let me tell you, the food was unbelievable. So I'm very, very happy with that.
Used right there was perfect. Perfect.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Jeff.
Nick, have you had anything going on between the last show and now, or any meetups or anything like that?
Yeah, I've had a busy little time. And the first thing I'm going to mention, I got a message from Joe Feeler, I think that's how it's pronounced, who lives in Wyoming, which I gather is the cowboy county or whatever. Is that where all the cowboys live? I don't know.
A lot of cowboys.
A lot of cowboys are here.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, he was organizing a birthday party for Barb. Barb is a 777 pilot for Continental, and then I guess they became United. And she's just reached a grand age of 3 score. So you can work that out for yourself. So she's coming close to retirement.
That was very diplomatic way to put
it.
it.
And he wanted me to send a birthday greeting for her, which I've done, but I thought I'd give her a shout out tonight anyway. Congratulations, Barb. And I'm sure you have fun flying your 777. I was just trying to suggest that she moved to the A350 since their airline has some now. But there you go. I don't know. That'll probably fall on deaf ears. So that was that. What else has happened? I had a little meetup. Oh, first thing that day was Tuesday. I picked up my new car, which is now sitting in the drive looking all red and black and smart.
Have you had a chance to test the top down feature on it?
No, it hasn't stopped raining from the second I picked it up. I'm splashing around the countryside in it, going, "Oh, this is terrible." But I haven't worked out how it works yet because it's quite complicated, and I'm only an airline pilot. So I'm very pleased to have that. But I did later on that day meet David Powell, who's one of our listeners, and got some feedback from the meetup, which I think we might have some audio.
Okay, yeah, let's play that right now. Pause. We know that Nick's video is frozen, but it's okay. We're getting his audio just fine. So,
hi there, Jeff. I'm here in my local.
Didn't mean to hit that button yet. Here we go. Let's listen to the feedback audio or the meetup audio.
Hi there, Jeff. I'm here in my local pub, and I've come down for a pint and a little meal, and guess who I bumped into? Well, it's David Powell, one of our marvelous listeners here from the United Kingdom, and he's sitting beside me, and great to see you again, David.
Yeah, it's been really good to see you, Nick, and it's good to catch up and hear some stories.
Well, that's very kind. That's very kind. What got you interested in aviation?
I've always been interested to a degree. I started with simulators. I've had the first 747 simulator for the BBC microcomputer, and I've always dabbed in and out all the way through for the years. But I just love seeing airplanes fly. I think it's magical.
Excellent. Well, it's obviously you've been at this for a while. Now, you live up near a very nice airport, don't you?
I do. It's ex-RAF base, RAF Finley. I think it's Doncaster. It's the UK's newest civilian airport, I believe. Maybe. It used to be. It has some pretty good runways, and we see some interesting airplanes there. We see a lot of 737s and boring stuff, the odd whiz thing flying in. But we also see some 747s and some military aircraft just floating in for a look to see what's happening.
Well, that's great. What's it called?
It's called nowadays Doncaster Sheffield Airport. It's also had the name of Robin Hood at one point or other, and it used to be a RAF Finningley.
So they've got a nice terminal now. Have they knocked down the officers' mess?
No, all the old military buildings are still there. They're all let to different occupiers and officers, and we've got a nice modern terminal ready to expand when the airport gets enough business.
So what's the best thing you've seen fly into there?
The Vulcan.
But the one they kept flying?
That's right, which was based there. In fact, it is still there.
Oh, really? Excellent. Well, it must be nice to be able to go and visit it. I assume you can.
Not so much nowadays. It's been kicked out of its hangar and it's hanging around outside, feeling rather unloved whilst they fundraise to build a building for it. I remember the old days when I went to the airport to pick up some currency, heard a strange noise, glance around the corners, find it flying just above the runway, making a wonderful howl.
And it couldn't it, with those 4 amazing Olympus engines? Well, what brings you down to my neck of the woods?
I travel around the country for work quite a lot, and today I'm passing through from South London down to the South Coast to position myself for a day of inspecting tomorrow.
And then you're back up to Doncaster, a long drive for you tomorrow.
It's a 4.5 hour drive. It's what I do most weeks, most days.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great to see you. Thank you very much indeed for coming down to my local and buying me a pint of beer. Much appreciated. I brought down my dog as well. Rugger's here with us, aren't you, mate? Yes, he is. And it's lovely to see you. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Back to you in the studio, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Nick. So that was lovely music. That was the music that was playing in the background of your local pub?
Of the cantina?
Yeah. We had some nice
thinking,
visuals with that too.
Yeah, I had. If you're watching the video, we had some video also of Nick's local pub.
Absolutely, yeah, it's just like that.
How appropriate.
In my mind, not that wonderful soothing music that you were playing in the back of that feedback or that meetup audio. I more kind of imagined this.
Well, I wish I'd used that now. That would have been brilliant.
I had to be very careful because I don't want to play too much of that because then I'll get a nasty email from YouTube about that.
Well, David did wield his lightsaber a bit, but we managed to keep him at bay, so that was fine. And it was lovely to see him, and thanks very much indeed for coming down, Dave. The only other thing that I have done this week was the PT UK Christmas extravaganza. Both you and I, Jeff, appeared on that, which has been recorded and will be played over Christmas.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be released on the 22nd.
Yeah, so and that was a hoot and a roar, I have to say. It's always a bit of a bun fight. It's great fun, very amusing, a little risque this week. Someone's going to have to do an awful lot of editing.
Captain Al was in rare form.
He was.
Captain Nick.
Yeah, well, we all do our best. So look forward to hearing that. That's been it for me, I think. I don't think there's anything else.
Excellent.
I look forward to hearing the Christmas extravaganza as well. It's sad I was not able to be there. Too many time zones in the way and work.
I only
that was a shame.
A very short appearance because of my wacky schedule that day. I got rerouted but I was able to be there for a little bit. My bandwidth was horrible, of course, but did the best I could with that. Last week, I don't know, midweek last week, or it may have been longer than that. I was contacted by here in the United States. We have a channel dedicated to weather. It's called the Weather Channel, and they've been around for quite a number of years. They're based here in Atlanta, actually, and their main studio is here as well. Anyway, the producer for Jim Cantori, and those of you who are listening who know anything at all about the Weather Channel know that Jim Cantori is just like a legend.
It's a legend, yes, correct word.
And Steph really likes this guy.
Yeah, I do.
And he, anyway, he's a really nice guy. So he said, I was wondering if you would want to come on the show or the channel or whatever to talk about Christmas stuff, and flying and that kind of thing. And I really, honestly, I thought that he was asking me to come on and talk about how it's kind of difficult to be a pilot or a airline crew member during the holidays, because a lot of us, if you're not very senior, you are flying during the holidays and being away from your friends and family. And like, as Dana is going to be, he's waving right now in the video. So that's what I thought that he wanted me to talk about. And then when he followed up on it and I said, yes, I'd be interested in doing that, he said, he kind of sent me some questions, and I realized right off the bat, nope, he hadn't. That was nothing like what he wanted to talk to me about. He wanted to know something about the Christmas lighting displays, holiday lighting displays this time of year, and the fact that for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, a lot of these displays are starting to use lasers, and how they know that lasers affect pilots, and they were wondering if these holiday lighting displays might affect pilots as well. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I can talk about that. I haven't been personally involved with any kind of a laser incident. I know Dana has, and one of the questions asked during the interview on the Weather Channel dealt with that, and they even said, Jeff hasn't experienced this, but you do know people that have, and then they continue to ask more about that. And then they asked some general questions about, weather and flying airplanes and that kind of thing. So it was a very quick, about 1/72nd fraction of the length of a normal APG show. It was like 2.5, 3 minutes, something like that. And this 3-hour show, believe it or not, for us goes by like that.
Did it feel like you even
like,
said anything, or
I didn't say anything, but it was fun.
Do you feel it was worth the effort of going through that and makeup and having the
kidding?
wardrobe, your special clothes fitted?
It was. So when he said, at first he said, we'll have you on via Skype, and they said, unless you're, if you want to come to the studio. He said, where do you live? And I said, well, I live in the Atlanta area. He goes, oh, you can come into the studio if you want, if you're not, out flying a trip. And I said, sure. And so I showed up. It was like the time slot was 7:42 a.m. And he said, get here no later than 6:40. And so
so you can have a few drinks in the green room.
Yes.
Calm your nerves a little
to
bit.
loosen up your tongue.
Actually, I was a little nervous because this is live. I can't go in and fix it in post.
Can't fix it.
And I hope I don't say something really, really stupid. And I don't think I did. I mean, it wasn't, 100%.
Well, not really, really stupid.
Not really stupid.
No.
But
I thought you were brilliant, mate.
So I
you look great.
It's dark outside, and I texted Josh, and he came downstairs and opened the door with a lot of security there, and then took me up to a conference room. It's really dark in there, and a lot of really cool studio stuff. Nick, you would have loved it. And he said, okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send you over to hair and makeup. And I went, really? Okay. So I went over to the thing, and one of the Weather Channel, female Weather Channel people, maybe I'm not supposed to talk about this, but anyway, I recognized her. She's been on the Weather Channel for quite a number of years. She was in one of the seats, basically just sitting there talking to the makeup people, and they brushed some stuff on my face, like powder or whatever. So
then they looked at your mustache and said, we've got a much better one if you want it.
You don't know what to do with that. Do you mind? Didn't touch my mustache and didn't touch my hair or anything.
Well, who would want to touch your mustache?
I don't know. I mean, listen, people, if you ever have to see me, please do try to touch my mustache. I'm just kidding.
No.
Yeah. So then went back to the conference room. He kind of gave me a piece of paper that had some of the questions they were going to be asking me. I mean, kind of distilled from a lot more questions that he had asked me via email. And so it wasn't a surprise what they were going to say. And what they were doing was just reading on the
teleprompter.
Yeah. I didn't have my answers on the teleprompter, though.
That's unfortunate. That would have been nice.
So yeah, it was interesting. Should I play just a little bit of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
It's okay. Let's see here. Let me hit share screen and Chrome tab, and here we go, and share audio. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
All right, so lasers can cause flash blindness, especially for airline pilots. The FAA got 7,000 reports of laser strikes in 2017. Jeff Nielsen is a commercial pilot who has been doing it for 30 years. Jeff, thanks for joining us this morning to talk about this. You haven't experienced this yourself, but you know pilots who have.
Yes.
How do they describe this?
Well, they describe it as a startling thing. It's like a flash of lightning all of a sudden, hitting you and startling you and distracting you. And it can, be a risky situation.
In what ways? How could it affect the pilots and or the flight?
Well, this happens at night and your eyes are adjusted to night vision. And then you get this laser that lights up your cockpit and it temporarily blinds you. And
So I'm trying to think, what Christmas lights should we have people avoid, especially pointing them at the sky? I'm trying to think of.
Well, those displays that have like the snowflakes lighting up the houses or the stars or whatever else.
Yeah.
As long as people, and these things come with instructions that say, don't point them up into the sky and most people aren't thinking about the effect that it might have on pilots flying by.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes the wind can move the light display.
Yes.
In areas that you don't
So
expect it
recheck
to.
them, yeah.
So make sure you tie it down on both ends.
Listen, your run-of-the-mill lights, those are totally fine. Those aren't going to cause any issues, right? But how far do these lasers, planes fly at 30,000 feet, or is this when they're taking off and landing, or can they really get that far?
There are some laser beams that can reach that kind of altitude,
Wow.
but the ones that we're talking about here are usually like the handheld 10 lights or the holiday lighting displays, which don't go up all the way to the 30,000 foot level. But if you're living in a city so that means you're going to be near an airport, that's when it's most critical because the airplanes are coming in at lower altitudes.
Since we have so much of this in the forecast today and you're a pilot, I wanted to ask you, what's worse coming in on approach, a snowstorm or a thunderstorm?
Well, since you're calling both of them storms, that's indicating to me that it's unstable air. And so I would say in that case, probably the snowstorm because you have all that wintry precipitation and the instability.
Plus you won't approach during a downdraft.
No, if we have reports of wind shears or microbursts, no, absolutely not.
Real quick, what airport is the most difficult to maneuver when it comes to the weather?
Probably ones such as DCA, LaGuardia that have restrictions, especially, the White House and all the restrictions in DCA. When you throw in severe or inclement weather, it makes it so much worse.
All right, Jeff, some interesting information there. Guys, remember about the lasers. Don't point them in the sky. Not to mention, that just freaks you out. Have you ever seen like a laser just come across I had to come in my living room one time. I'm like, what the heck?
Well, you can find Jeff's podcast, Airplane Pilot Guy, anywhere you can download a podcast.
It was so good.
That's awesome.
So close.
Yeah, nearly.
So close, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But, that was nice that they
It was very good.
Asked if they wanted to mention that. So it's not the airplane pilot guy, it's the airline pilot guy. Anyway, so obviously the people that are listening to the show right now and watching it know that. But it was a lot of fun, new experience for me. That was it was interesting and really enjoyed that. And if Josh, if you're watching, thanks again for contacting me. And he said that a lot of people have said, how did they come about, coming upon you and asking you to do this kind of thing. And I asked him that. I said, well, how did this all happen? And he said that he saw something that I tweeted or somebody had put a hashtag airline pilot guy or something like that on some tweet. And then he ended up finding the podcast and watched that a little bit and thought, hey, this guy might be okay to put on there.
He must have
you listened to that
spotted the
podcast?
30
Yeah, it's
seconds
just okay.
when everyone was talking sense. So that's
What I
really
was-
good.
I was really hoping that they would ask me something about the show. And I said, yeah, our show is a lot like being weather forecasters. We're always striving for at least 50%.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been so cool. Excellent.
But they didn't. But
That would have been
Well,
funny.
as a huge fan of the Weather Channel, that was very cool.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wish that I'd kind of hung out there a little bit longer and saw more of what was going on. But it was a very professional place. It's really good people over there. And speaking of really good people, we have some contacts, some part of our APG community, who are involved with a very professional podcasting network out in Northern California. It's called the This Week in Technology Podcasting Network, or Netcasting Network, TWIT. And one of the guys that follows us a lot, and he's just an amazing person. He just moved from North Carolina out to Petaluma, California, as part of their staff now, full time. And his name is Ant Pruitt, A-N-T Pruitt, and he was on the one of their really good, well, they're all good podcasts called This Week in Google, and he during the end of the show they kind of talk about their picks of the week, or picks, or whatever they call them, and he said this, and I was just blown away. I got a lot of folks that sent us email to let us know that we were picked as the pick of the week or whatever on this show. So let me share this with you. Oh, come on.
I can't hear it, Jeff.
Can't hear it, Jeff.
Really? Oh.
I wasn't sure if it was just me at first.
Oh, hang on. Let me try it again. I think that maybe I forgot to hit the button that says
audio.
Share the audio. Okay, hang on. I got to re-queue it. Thank you for letting me know. You could see it though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Stop screen. Share screen. Chrome tab. Share audio. I didn't click that before. Okay. Here we go. Let's take two.
Ant Pruitt. My pick of the week is advice to be mindful of your holiday lights.
Why?
Well, friend of mine, Captain Jeff of the Airline Pilot Guy podcast, he flies for a specific airline, and he happened to be on a news station here recently talking about those Christmas lights shining up and hitting the pilot cockpits.
No, really?
If you're in
I know
certain
lasers
areas.
are terrible.
Right. And a lot of people are using these lasers for part of their decorations now. And so I wanted to just give a
Look
shout
at
out
this.
to him.
Look at this. When you see this, you got to think, some of this is going to be
Some of that
blinding.
stuff just pops in. He talked about, you're going in on an approach or whatever, and then all of a sudden you get flashed. It's pretty scary and pretty disorienting. And I never even thought about that.
That's, by the way, a great podcast.
I love that podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to live right next to Charlotte Airport, probably like within 6 miles. So I always saw the airplanes coming over my home, and I never even considered that right next door to me was called Christmastown, USA, McAdenville, North Carolina, where they have some of the largest display of Christmas lights in the country, yada, yada, yada. And I always wondered about, how is that seen from above, and then his video comes up and he's like, yeah, some of those are great, but not so great if they're shooting us in the eyes.
Yeah. Jeff says that 7,000 laser hits on pilots and planes,
Insane.
In 2019.
Insane.
Airline Pilot Guy Show. You can find it on YouTube, youtube.com/APG show.
Their show is longer than ours. It's
No.
like 3 hours.
Really?
It's like 3 hours.
It's a coast-to-coast podcast.
But it's so fun. I love listening to those guys.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Shout out to you, Captain Jeff.
All
right.
I think we could wrap this up. What do
Okay.
you say?
Let me turn that off.
Sure.
Did you have anything to contribute?
Okay.
What a great guy. Thank you, Anne. Brilliant.
Yes. And that,
Awesome.
actually, that was more thrilling, actually, for me personally, than being on the Weather Channel, because, I mean, Leo Laporte is just like one of my role models. I just, he's just amazing. And for the longest time, Micah makes appearances on our main man. Micah makes a lot of appearances on his syndicated radio show that he does every weekend called The Tech Guy. And actually, that was one of the reasons why when I rebranded this from Catholic Pilot to the Airline Pilot Guy show, that I rebranded it to Airline Pilot Guy, kind of almost in homage to the Tech Guy. And it's funny because Micah always is really great about plugging our show and plugging the Airplane Geeks podcast. And it's funny because for the longest time, I think that Leah Laporte, the guy that's the head of this entire podcasting network out there, thought that Micah was the one that did the Airline Pilot Guy. I almost said Airplane Pilot Guy, Airline Pilot Guy show. And I think recently he finally started understanding that what Micah was saying is that he contributes to our show and also is a big contributor to the and co-host of the Airplane Geeks. But I was so jazzed when I saw them put up on the video our website, actually the YouTube channel, with our logo and everything else. And I thought, oh, that's so cool. I was so excited to hear Leo said, this is a good podcast. And I went, huh? He's probably never listened to it. But I know the Ant does. He's been a longtime fan of our show, and we are a longtime fan of Ant. And I just want to make sure that I plug some of the stuff that he is doing for the Twit show. And he's oftentimes a panelist on a lot of their shows, like their main one that they do on Sunday night, the This Week in Tech. Also This Week in Google, that was that show. And he does a show, and now I'm struggling because I didn't write it down here in the show notes. Focus on Photography. Hang on, I think I have a screenshot of this. Doesn't have any sound with it, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. Here we go. Focus on Photography it's an audio only podcast that's part of the Twit lineup. And he also has his own podcast that he does and with his wife. And we'll put links to that in the show notes as well. So thank you so much, Ant, for plugging us and promoting us. And, before you know it, a lot of those people that watch shows on the Twit network will be over here and be part of our community. So
absolutely. I already listened to Tweet. In fact, you put me onto it, Jeff, and it is definitely one of my favorite shows. It is about as long as ours. It's a good 3 hours, isn't it? Normally?
Yeah. It is.
And Leo does that and radio broadcasts and other podcasts. He just seems to be on the go 24 hours a day. I don't know how he fits it all in.
He's like one of those old school radio guys that I just really look up to. I love, I just, when he goes on vacation sometimes for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time. And I end up not really watching much over there because when he's not on, it's just like, I love his personality and his professionalism and everything.
Very smooth, very measured voice. He's great filler. There's never any dead air. He always has something appropriate to say. Very professional.
Yes. Michael Carroll's the host of the Flying and Life podcast. He mentions in the Facebook chat that the podcast that Ant does with his wife is entitled, I have to be very careful with this one, Everyday People Doing Everyday Stuff podcast. It wasn't stuff,
yeah.
Something else. But anyways, really.
Yeah, he spelled stuff wrong.
Yes.
Actually, I think he spelled it correctly, but anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have no idea what we're talking about. My computer
we're
is.
talking about Ant
and
and what he's doing over there at the.
Welcome back,
Yeah.
Steph.
Thank you. I hopefully I will be able to stay this time. Who knows? Ant's a great guy. I had a chance to meet him when he was living here in the Charlotte area before he
brilliant.
moved out to California. Great guy. Definitely a huge fan of the show, and we're likewise a huge fan of his.
Yes.
Friend of Tanya's. So I met up with the three of them, or the three of us, two of them.
Mhm.
And very cool for him mentioning us on his show. So we
Yeah,
appreciate that.
this very tight knit podcasting community, not necessarily aviation only. It's encompasses a lot of different things out there. So it's fun for everybody to be supporting everybody. So
And just before I dropped out, I heard him mention McAdenville,
Mhm.
which is down the road from Charlotte, not too far on I-85. And I have actually never been to see the lights in that town because the traffic to try and get there, it backs up for miles on I-85. Just people wanting to see the incredible lights that the town puts together.
Steph, you need to do a night flight and go over it and blind yourself.
It's also
with lasers.
right next to Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
Oh, join the circuit.
It's fine. It's
fine.
I mean, literally, like, probably a couple
I have
miles
feeling
offset
that
of
Steph
town.
would rather just be in her hot tub watching the airplanes. and-
Yeah, definitely with the beverage.
Yes.
Anyway.
I think we'd all like to be in Steph's hot tub with a beverage.
Yes.
Mhm.
But it would be. There's a lot of people. I don't know how many it holds, but probably not.
Not the whole community.
6.
Okay.
Yeah, 6.
5.
That's about the entire community.
That's
I
about
think.
it. Yeah. The 4 of us, and
And the
there's
2 listeners.
two-
Yeah.
1 or 2 listeners. Speaking of McAdam, that kind of how did we talk about something related to tarmac or something like that in
Yes,
the
last show.
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually learned a lot from that, and I followed up on it and looked at the Wikipedia and this I think it's John McAdam, a Scottish guy, and how he came up with this process for making roads with broken up small stones and that kind of thing, and it was fascinating. I love that kind of stuff. The trivial information.
Absolutely.
Anyway, okay, that's enough of that. Next, let's see, in January. Oh, by the way, I believe we're probably going to take the week off. That's not etched in stone, but maybe next week we'll take a break and not do a show, and then resume after that.
I'll miss you
Well,
guys.
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm just kidding. I won't miss you. No, I'm just kidding. I will miss you.
Yeah, sure.
We'll all miss each other.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll just get together and act like we're doing a show, but not actually publish one.
Now
The
that's
only-
actually a likely
Let's just
situation.
have a night drinking together.
Oh,
That would
yeah,
be good.
yeah, great.
Actually, that sounds like a good idea.
I'll
Does
be
sound like
thinking
a
about
good
you guys while you guys are partying and having a good time while I'm out there slaving away.
Oh, Dana.
Way to go.
Dana.
Well, I will be working alongside you, not literally, but
Yeah.
also working. Yeah.
Okay. In January, the wonderful aviation podcast, the Plane Talking UK or PTUK podcast, they're celebrating their 300th episode on the 11th of January. And some of us from the APG will be attending. I know that Nick is planning on going. And
Yeah, I've
just made
booked my
plans.
hotel room already. I'm ready.
I just made plans for myself today. I booked a hotel room, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to catch a flight over there.
It's minor details, right?
We'll
Minor
see.
details.
And I'm looking at it myself. 'Cause
Yeah.
I might be off, and if I'm off, I'm actually trying to figure out if I can get a ride on a 747, which I've never stepped foot on. So I'm trying to. There's a new announcement that a new code share that we can ride in business class on a specific airline. So I'm trying to figure out a way to check that availability on those flights because
I should look into that too.
No, not on the same flight. No, not on the same flight.
Dana, you
ever
should
again.
know better
This
than
has gone well for Dana in the past.
Yeah, you should.
It has not worked out well.
I love it.
I'll fly to San Francisco first to make sure I get business class away from you.
Okay. Anyway, so there's at least going to be one of us representing the APG, and perhaps all of
The
us.
rest of us are all a strong maybe.
Maybe.
So
hopefully that'll work out because those folks over there on the PTUK are just wonderful people. So
Indeed.
love to be with there over there, helping them celebrate.
I want to see Matt's car.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Take it for a little spin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crunch.
I want to see Nick's car too.
Yeah,
Ooh,
me too.
Yes.
Are you going to drive
Hey,
your car? You probably
The
will have
Scarlet
your-
Lady. Oh yeah, I'll take her. She's going everywhere with me now.
Yeah, I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about your car.
Oh, okay. I've called her the Scarlet Lady.
Oh, I got you.
That was one of the Virgin airplanes.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Well, without further ado, I think it's now time for us to get into the feedback portion of the show.
Right.
Hit this little button right here.
Captain, incoming message.
Thank you. All right. Let's go to the feedback folder. Marcus, who is another amazing podcast host. He has a podcast that deals with science and engineering, and he covers a lot of stuff aviation related because guess what? He's a pilot. He is a competitive glider pilot. And has he published the book yet, Nick?
No, I don't think so.
Be soon. And we'll be plugging that on the show, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've
And I have to say, the equipment that he flies looks gorgeous. I think it's very expensive, and it is really high-tech gliding stuff. And he flies over some amazing terrain. His photography is great, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to, say, yes, his equipment is... And we have some audio feedback that was sent to, I think, Captain Nick, and it has something to do with our pronunciation of some Austrian name or something like that. Here, let me press this. Hang on. Obviously, I've not put the volume slider up to the appropriate position. Here we go.
The Austrian version of the name Boeing with the umlaut on the O would be pronounced Boeing. Enjoy.
Boeing.
Some say tomato, some say tomato, others say Cessna, and we have people saying Cessna. Why not Boeing? It's same, but different.
Boeing. And that second voice was Stefan, our Airbus A380 pilot. The first half was Marcus, and the second was Stefan.
I didn't realize that. I thought they were both Marcus. Okay.
No.
I noticed there was a difference in the recording. Just
they
the
all
sound of it.
They all sounded
the
like
Germans
to you,
sounded
did they?
like, yeah.
These Germans are like going crazy.
I was trying to chalk it up to differences in audio recording quality, but that should have been my first clue there with the...
That was quite amusing that they both sent in feedback about Boeing.
It sounded very like Inspector Clouseau to me. Yeah.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Well, thank you, Marcus and Stefan, for helping us sort out the whole pronunciation thing of Boeing.
Boeing.
We're never going to get that right. So
now than I was. I was.
I can't do that. Boeing. I'll stick with Boeing.
Boeing. All right. Christian Bass from Richmond Hill and the Toronto area sent us some feedback, and he said, here's a nice story from Craig Erickson on LinkedIn. Quote, flying home on Southwest Airlines tonight, and the flight attendant announced a young girl was celebrating her 8th birthday. They asked all the rows to push the call lights, and we all sang happy birthday. Then asked her to make a wish, and on the count of 3, blow out the candle lights, and we all turned them off at the same time. Love their creativity and attention to creating great customer experiences. We'll put a link to this in the show. You can see that there's a wonderful picture here.
It looks brilliant, doesn't it?
Yeah, that does look really cool.
Like a candle lit.
Because they dimmed all the other cabin lights are off, so it's just the call button.
It kind of looks like one of those, a big show or something where everyone's got their phones out with the lights on.
Right. And then having her blow it out and then everybody turning them off at the same time. That's just so cool. So
yeah. Well done.
Yes.
I'm just thinking of everyone turning them on at the same time, all the dinging.
Not the time.
Ding.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. They would.
I actually want to go to the toilet, please.
I hadn't thought of that, Steph, but there must have been a lot of. I'm hoping that they told the pilots up front that this was going on.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well,
because I monitor. Well, I don't know how many pilots do this, but I always monitor the PA channel of our interphone, and anytime anybody hits their call button or the flight attendants ring their flight attendant call button, I hear it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that would be audible.
Well, because if you're listening, at least on the airplane that I fly,
Mm-hmm.
So if you if you are monitoring that channel and somebody hits the button, you'll hear that.
Oh,
And so,
okay. Interesting. I learned something. I didn't
So
know
I'm
that.
curious. Say there are 100 seats. If everyone presses it at the same time, do you just hear one big ding, or do you actually
Well, I
get
don't-
100
I'm thinking it's a
individual
lot like
dings?
our clapboards where we're all trying to do it at the same time, but everyone's like, just like just one
yeah.
giant long
That'd be
ding.
brilliant.
I think that there would probably be some smoke coming from the circuit breaker panel in the cockpit. What the heck?
I love it.
Yeah. So thank you, Christian, for sending us that LinkedIn post. Very cool. Item number 3, Andy has a question for us. He said, "Hello, crew. Hope all are well, Hope all are well, healthy, and happy. To the point, I was curious how pilots and air traffic control get on the same page about top of descents. Do they typically clear you to descend at your own discretion, or will they start forcing you down at a point they find fit to match the arrival you're on? Secondly, what happens at the top of descent in the flight deck? When does it start to get really busy? Hoping to get my first solo by the end of the year. Between this podcast and another one, this community is what inspired me to continue flight training. Take care. Alpha Hotel." And then he puts LOL. Yeah.
We can guess what the other podcast is that you're listening to. Alpha Hotel.
So here we actually use names, Andy, not initials. But yeah, I think that's a good clue as to the other podcast that Andy likes to listen to, and he's got good taste, I'd say.
And hopefully he's posed the same question to them. So we'll just listen to their answer and then we'll come back and answer yours.
There you go. Should we just say, just head over to opposing bases and listen to their answer for this? No. Nick, I have a feeling you might remember the old days when you were flying airplanes and we had to do the top of descent thing. So
Oh God, yes. I mean, for us, it was quite a big thing because you just spent hours and hours and hours in the cruise, and all of a sudden you had to start working again. So yeah, we used to about half an hour before the top of descent, which is about your average entire flight time, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we used to start, tidying things up, getting everything sorted, getting all the information we needed, starting a briefing, etc. And it used to run that full half hour up to the actual top of descent. As to when we went down, well, it depended where you're going, really. A lot of airfields, say like New York, they would force you down pretty early. We'd be hundreds of miles north, and we're from our cruising level down to about 240, and then again down to about 15 or 10,000, and we drag our sorry backsides in for miles, way down. And I guess that's just to get beneath the traffic that's crossing above the approach traffic into the New York area. But somewhere like Heathrow or something, when we were, say, coming in from France, we would be handed off and we'd be looking at our little indicators saying that if you want to start your descent point, now's the right time. And we'd be really anxious. As soon as we got out of London, we'd be asking for a descent because the Airbus is a pretty slippery airplane. It's very smooth and aerodynamic, great glider. So if you end up trying to descend late, so you've been held up and now you're trying to do a steeper descent, you can't do much to increase the drag other than put the air brakes out. And no one wants to put the speed brakes out because it vibrates, and we're not going to put the seat belts on until well into the descent so that passengers have that last chance to finish their meals and get to the loo. So yeah, it was always a bit anxious to try and get an early descent down so we could close the throttle and just glide the airplane smoothly down. Very important for passenger comfort. So yeah, it really was. And once you started the descent, having got through that 30 minutes of briefing and preparation, it wasn't usually too busy for the first half of the descent, but once you get into the second half and you're into the terminal area and there's a lot more concentrated traffic around the airfield, there's a lot more going on then, and you've really got to be quite responsive, listen out carefully, lots of altimeter checks, lots of little step descents. So yeah, it is an awful a lot busier around that area. Hope that answers the question.
That is a great answer. Thank you. The more and more of the places that we're going to today, and pretty much all the places that Nick flew into before he retired, are using RNAV approaches, and a lot of these RNAV approaches have altitude constraints and speed restrictions and that kind of thing. That's all programmed into your flight management computer, and you get a readout showing you how many miles you are from the top of their calculator, or the computer's calculated top of descent point. And the air traffic controllers are, they know when it is that we need to start down to meet these restrictions and such. So that's more and more the way things are going today. Although we do, on the airplane that Dana and I fly, we fly into places like Little Rock and other smaller places where they don't have these RNAV descent profiles, thankfully. I don't really like them very much, because it seems like they're putting more and more of the onus on not only flying an airplane, but also navigating it and being our own air traffic controllers. And then if we screw something up, then guess what? They try to take our certificates away. So anyway.
But basically, I think the idea that you're both kind of getting at here is that both the pilots and air traffic controllers, for all intents and purposes, are following the same basic blueprint of what that airspace looks like, what the flight plan is. So they're really both on the same page, even though they're looking at it from, opposite sides of the.
And they know about when most of the time that they're going to have, if they have to be at this point at 10,000 feet, they know about where we're going to want to start descending. If they don't already give us that discretionary descent at a certain point, we will say request descent. And that kind of clues them in, because sometimes they get busy and they forget. Like the other day on the last trip that I just flew, we were up at altitude and they switched us over to a new Atlanta Center frequency. And I'm thinking, that's odd, because normally before they switch me to this next frequency, they've already given me a discretionary descent to 24,000 feet, or flight level 240. And I'm thinking, I think they forgot about us. And then we checked in with a new frequency and we told them that we were level at flight level 310. And they said, didn't give you a descent? And we said, nope. They got, okay, descend across this point. So we had to kind of hustle down. And I looked over at my first officer and I said, yep, I thought that they probably forgot to give us that descent clearance. But so we work together. Yeah, go ahead now.
That's always the problem. If they leave you a little high for too long, they might be crossing traffic underneath you or something, and you've got a constraint to meet. And that's always the problem, because you've got to really stuff the nose down and get the airplane down on time. And then what they'll inevitably do is ask you to reduce speed at the same time. And if anyone knows anything about airplanes, you can't do both.
You can trade one for the other, but can't do both at the same time generally.
And the old adage is, when they have screwed up and they tell you to make a certain altitude and a certain speed at a certain point, and you say unable, and the old adages, or the old I don't know, meme
saying, phrase,
like, don't you have speed brakes? And then the response from us is, speed brakes are for my mistakes, not yours.
I love it.
Anyway, great question, Andy, and good luck with your what do you say?
His first solo. So by the end of the year, you got 2 weeks.
We look forward to
Let us know
hearing all about that, Andy.
Yeah, seeing a picture of you beside your airplane with your L plates torn up.
Now, I guess in
T-shirt.
the GA world, what happens, Steph? They do something with your T-shirt? Or...
Yeah, they'll cut off the back of your T-shirt and usually draw some stuff on it now. But that has to do with back in the day of sitting not side by side, but tandem. And when your flight instructor needed you to do something, they'd tug on the back of your shirt, to get your attention. So that's symbolic of letting go of that back of the shirts, and you're on your own. So,
well, my first solo in a T-37 jet trainer in the Air Force. I wish it were just a T-shirt kind of thing. Everybody in your squadron grabs you and they throw you into the dunk tank.
Nice.
And guess what? If it's that time of year where the outside air temperature is cold and the water temperature is cold, well, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get dunked in that dunk tank.
I was looking around. I actually have my my T-shirt. It's actually in the room next door. I should go grab that.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and funny story behind that. I think when I don't remember exactly, but I must have been working that day or something that I ended up doing my first solo, because the outfit I was wearing was not suitable for removing the back of the T-shirt with scissors. But at the FBO, just happened to have extra T-shirts lying around, so they
Oh,
made me change into that one, and then
Yeah.
like, thanks, guys. It was like my nice dress shirt or something. It's like, and I didn't expect to be. It was a surprise to me that I was soloing that day. So
Oh,
probably not a surprise to my instructor, but a surprise to me.
no, that's
It's the best kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I remember doing that to some of my students because actually, I think it works in their favor because they don't get all nervous
I
about it.
wasn't nervous about it. Well, I was nervous when he's like,
Yeah,
okay, just pull over here, and he just gets out. I'm like, where are you going? He's
You
like,
don't have like 24 hours of nervousness.
yeah, exactly. I had 30 seconds, and then I was like, all right, guess we're doing this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Colin in the chat room said, I asked a pilot if he could lose 10,000 feet in the next 25 miles. Answer, I can, but I can't bring the airplane with me. That's
Yes,
funny.
I like that answer.
Oh, man. Well, hey, you know what? I'm looking at the timing here, and I think if it's anything close to reality, we have about a little over an hour left in the show, and that's usually the time where we get to the best part of the show, which all of you know is the Old Pilot's Plain Tale. And this week's is entitled Loop de Loop Flip Flop, Santa's Got an Airplane. I hope I did that okay.
Sounds good to me.
All right, here we go.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Loop-de-loop flip-flop, Santa's got an airplane.
This Christmas tale is dedicated to our listener and friend, Main Man Micah. Even though Christmas doesn't actually feature in his religious calendar, and he will be eating Chinese on Christmas Day. He used to be a radio DJ and has an encyclopedic knowledge of music from his era, but this is one even he might struggle with. It goes like this. 'Cause loop-de-loop flip-flop, Santa's got an airplane. Loop-de-loop flip-flop, flying in an airplane. Loop-de-loop flip-flop, Santa's heart's full of joy. Loop-de-loop flip-flop, Santa's got a new toy. He skydives down to the chimney with ease, parachutes a package to the whole family. It's Santa's air special delivery to under your tree, etc. I quote the song, which comes from a surprisingly famous band for such dubious lyrics, as it's a bit of a lead-in to the other part of this tale, which comes from Micah's stomping ground up in the northern wilds of New England. That's a part of the United States that has, for me, a surprisingly homely feel. Within its area are names very familiar to anyone from Britain: Hartford, Rutland, Newport, Cambridge, Gloucester, Lancaster, Windsor, Belfast, Brunswick, Rochester, Portsmouth, Bath, and of course Boston, where my first son was born, the one in Lincolnshire. And there's a banger in Maine and a banger in Gwynedd, the oldest city in Wales, and one I frequented when I served as a flying instructor at Valley on Anglesey. The story for Micah is one that I hope he hasn't heard before, despite featuring in one of his local newspapers as recently as 1997. The story stretches back to 1929 and involves a main float plane flown by Captain William Wincarpa, a native of Friendship in Maine. It's not a big place. Back in 2010, it had barely 1,000 inhabitants. And back when William was born, it was smaller than that. The rocky coastline of New England has always been a difficult and dangerous place for mariners to sail. There are hundreds of wrecks off the coast, but the combination of the busy sea routes to England and the rich fishing grounds meant that there was always going to be a surfeit of vessels trying to navigate the treacherous sandbanks and reefs that lay hidden, just waiting to drag the unwary down to Davy Jones' locker. As a result, the communities who lived by the sea kept guard, ready to assist vessels in distress, and dozens of lighthouses and Coast Guard stations were built to help those who sailed the waters there. Wincorpor had started flying way back in 1911, and by the 20s he had a seaplane base in Rockland Harbour. He had been a pioneer in the early days of aviation and was well known around Penobscot Bay area as a skilled and adventurous pilot. He flew a variety of aircraft, but was most at home in amphibious float planes. The landscape of Penobscot Bay being made up of numerous islands, float planes had become a most practical means of transport. At this time, Captain Wincorpor was overseeing operations of the Curtiss Flying Service at the Rockland Airfield, as well as the nearby seaplane base. He flew the coast of Maine and used the lighthouses as navigation points to help him get around, particularly when the bad weather that often plagued the area closed in. He was well known for transporting passengers and cargo along the Maine coast, and he frequently took to the air in less than ideal conditions to provide transport for sick or injured islanders. His brave flights, often in poor weather, were responsible for the saving of many lives. On lots of these flights, his only means of navigation were the lighthouses, maintained by keepers along the coast. He developed friendships with the families that kept these remote, life-saving beacons alight. When he was out and about, the keepers would keep a watchful eye out for his plane. They made it a habit to relay word back to the airfield whenever he had safely passed their position. On calmer days, William would often land at a local lighthouse, tie up his aircraft, and spend some time chatting with the keepers. He had a great deal of admiration for these men and their families who lived such isolated lives, as many stations were far from even the smallest towns where they might get supplies. The brave souls who worked there had to rely on infrequent resupply from ships and might have to wait months for the next delivery, particularly when the weather was set against them. On one particular flight, he had become lost in a snowstorm, but eventually sighted a familiar beam of light cutting through the bad weather. It was Dice Head Lighthouse at Cape Rosia. A few days later, it was December the 25th, 1929, and that was when William Wincorpor started his very special flights. He loaded up his aircraft with a dozen packages containing newspapers, magazines, coffee, candy, and other small luxuries that might make living on an isolated island in the middle of winter a little more bearable. He set off in his float plane and visited lighthouses around the Rockland area, dropping his modest gifts off to the families who lived there, never realizing just how well his gesture of Christmas goodwill would be received. He flew home to spend the rest of the day with his family. Then word came back to him in the days that followed that his gifts of Christmas cheer were exceedingly well received. The keepers and their families were touched to be remembered on this special holiday. A simple gesture of thanks had made the day so much more special for the residents of these outposts. Wincorpor realized that this Yuletide flight deserved to be repeated, and he tried to include more of the lighthouse families and Coast Guard stations along the coast into Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. William was eventually joined on the lighthouse trips by his son Bill Jr., an aspiring pilot. The Wincorpors didn't consider themselves Santas. This title was fondly bestowed on them by the recipients of their goodwill. Eventually, Captain Wincorpor began to dress for the role in a big red flying suit with whiskers and all. By 1933, The Wincorpor family had relocated to Winthrop, Massachusetts. Their Christmas flights now took them to as many as 91 lighthouses and Coast Guard stations. The cost of the program started to expand, but fortunately they were able to find sponsors in the business community, including Adriel U. Bird, president of the W.S. Quimby Company of Boston. This was the parent company of La Touraine Coffee. Thus began the connection to one of the program's longest-running sponsors. In 1934, Bill Jr., at the age of 16, was the youngest licensed pilot in Massachusetts and was well on his way to following in his father's aviation footsteps. That same year, he piloted part of the lighthouse routes with his father. The following year, he would fly on his own to a number of the lights. It was about this time that Bill Jr. introduced his father to Edward Rose Snow, one of his teachers at Winthrop High School. Mr. Snow, a native of Winthrop, had always had a keen interest in the sea and ships and the history of the New England coast. He was a descendant of sea captains and would eventually become one of the most well-known maritime authors and historians. Captain Wincorpor was looking for additional help with his growing schedule of flights and knew that Snow was the right man for the job. In 1936, whilst the elder Wincorpor flew the northern route, Bill Jr. and Mr. Snow flew to 25 stops in southern New England. By 1938, Bill Sr. was to be found in Bolivia, flying gold and mining machinery over the jungles and mountains of South America. Unable to make it back to New England for the Christmas trips, he called upon his son to make the flights with the assistance of Edward Snow. The Wincorpors had shown him the ropes, and Ed Snow was now in it for the long haul. The flights all went off without a hitch. Before long, both Bill Sr. and Bill Jr. were heavily involved with the South American cargo flights and would be unable to return, so it was up to Ed Snow, with his entirely appropriate name, to take over full responsibility for these wonderful charitable flights. Now known as Santa Snow, both Ed and his wife, Anna Merle, organized and packed and delivered hundreds of parcels up and down the New England coast. They dropped their presents on parachutes down into the waiting arms of the families below, and in that way could get to everyone in time. Wiggins Airways got involved and provided an aircraft and an extra pilot, Charlie Cowan, and for the next 60 years they would help by providing much-needed transport. Sadly, the start of the Second World War curtailed the Christmas flights. Bill Jr. had made his way to Pensacola to become a flying instructor for the U.S. Navy. His father was still flying in Bolivia and couldn't make the trip north to join him, but Santa Snow managed to get permission for a flight on Christmas Day, 1941, to drop to 35 locations. He went to some lengths to try to avoid being shot at by trigger-happy coastal defenses by putting a huge banner down the side of his aircraft reading "Christmas Seal Plane" in big red letters. As the war progressed, the flights had to stop when Ed Snow and Bill took up wartime obligations. Ed was ferrying bombers to England, and then he joined the search over the Atlantic for enemy submarines. With peace came happier Christmases for the Lighthouse families when Ed Snow restarted his familiar Santa-related duties. Then tragedy. During a drop to the keeper's family at Kitty Hunk Island off the coast of Massachusetts, a little girl was heartbroken when a doll meant for her was smashed as it parachuted down onto a rock. Hearing of this, Santa Snow took decisive action, and the next year he chartered a helicopter from Wiggin Airways to ensure a safe delivery. Christmas 1946 saw Santa setting off from Boston Airport in one of the very first commercial helicopters to make the rounds of the lighthouses. Roy Beer, a pioneer in helicopter flight, was at the controls. The little girl's father was now the keeper at West Chop Light on Martha's Vineyard, and the family met Santa and his helicopter when it landed at the nearby Gayhead Life-Saving Station. Now back from the war, the wing corporals were able to take part again. Bill Jr. was now the pilot of a DC-3, with his father, in his 60s, at the rear throwing packages out of the door to drift gently down to the grateful families. It took 2 days of flying to cover the 115 lighthouses and Coast Guard stations from Cohasset, Massachusetts to the Canadian border. That year, the Wing Corps made sure the flights were completed before Christmas Day, so that for the first time in 18 years, Captain Wing Corps' wife would have him home on the holiday. Sadly, the next summer, William Wing Corps Sr. would suffer a heart attack shortly after getting airborne from Rockland Harbor. His Cub cruiser seaplane nosed down into the sea, and both he and his young passenger were killed. What was supposed to be a wonderful joy ride up and down the coast had ended in tragedy. A memorial service was held in Rockland that was attended by lighthouse keepers, their families, island residents, and representatives of the Coast Guard, Navy, and Army. And at 2 o'clock, as the service began, foghorns and lighthouse warning bells ran out across Penobscot Bay in memory of Captain William H. Wing Corporal, the Flying Santa of the lighthouses. Over the years, the Christmas flights that William Wing Corporal had started would change in nature, and others would take up the challenge of delivering presents to the much deserving families of the lighthouse keepers. The reach of the flights would grow as far as lights on the Great Lakes, Bermuda, the Miquelon Islands, and even the remote Sable Island, 100 miles east of Nova Scotia. It was at these remotest of places that the Flying Santa's visits were most cherished. Away from the trappings of the holiday's commercialism, these isolated families greeted their red-suited guest with enormous enthusiasm. By 1981, Ed Snow was too ill to make the flights anymore, but word of this reached Judith Van Ham, the director of the Hull Life-Saving Museum. The museum was in its infancy and their budget was small, but after a number of phone calls, the services of 3 different helicopters were obtained, and Ed Snow was able to rest, secure in the knowledge that someone else had picked up the torch. The flights would continue to this very day. Ed Snow passed away the following year. And if you want to make a donation and find out more about this wonderful cause, then why not visit the Friends of Flying Santa at flyingsanta.com.
What a great story. And it didn't involve like crashes and people dying.
No. I actually, they're hard to find aviation stories that don't involve dramatic crashes.
All
and
the
things.
good ones don't make the news, or
Exactly, but
yeah, no one writes, and all was well.
yeah, I was just delighted to find one. And of course, as soon as I found out where it was all happening, I immediately thought of Mike, and I thought he would really enjoy that story. So
we
this
really
one's for you,
need to get you up there to the main coastline, Nick. You'd love it, actually.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure I would actually, and my lovely wife Julie has told me that she would like to go up there as well. So it might be a good thing to do this autumn, perhaps, or
APG
2020.
meetup.
Way, there you go. That would shoot us down to the ground. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Great story.
Yeah, that was lovely, and nice that you can still donate to that. So
Yes, I mean, I only told the very beginning of the Flying Santa story, which I personally found the most interesting. But of course, that continued on right to this very day. Generations of pilots have made sure that they continue to, go and help out these folks who are doing such a marvelous job through the holidays, and often from very remote places where they don't see a lot of other life. They see a lot of people. The visit they get on Christmas is very special to them.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, let's continue with some more feedback. What do you say?
Oh, yeah.
All right. 4. Richard. Good evening, all. I was listening to your podcast from 11 December on my long commute and had some information that I felt might elaborate on the accident that happened in Kingston recently. For background, I did the majority of my commercial training there, as well as being a former flight instructor. Even now, I fly in and out of the airport in a professional capacity, so hopefully I can lend a little more to chew on the. Let's see. Hopefully I can lend a little more to chew on in this. There we go. There are 2 runways available for use in Kingston, being 0119 and 0725. The only runway that has a traditional instrument approach is 19 with an ILS and NDB provided. All others are RNAV only. The aircraft itself was found pretty much on the approach for runway 19. I happened to look at the METAR and TAF that day in the morning for that airport, and it wasn't a good day in general to be flying, with marginal VFR at best listed, with the winds favoring, I recall, runway 25 and a considerable gust factor. Kingston itself is right on Lake Ontario near the mouth of the St. Lawrence River, with the airport right on a bay with a river flowing past it. The Great Lake effect can be considerable there, with some delays, the airport reporting VFR weather while everything else in the province reporting IFR, while other days fog can literally sit right on the airport shutting down operations while you can see the runways halfway out of it. I generally don't speculate on accidents until more comes in, but I'd like to point out other things that can happen to pilots, no matter how many hours they have and the experience they have, because we're still human. The accident happened just before the American Thanksgiving weekend, and it was stated that this pilot was taking family to see relatives in Quebec. He may have put pressure on himself to get there, despite weather, but since we don't know what he did for flight preparation, weather, flight brief, NOTAMs, we won't know his state of mind. Icing could have been a factor, but I'll put a reminder out about CFIT, or controlled flight into terrain, or spiral dives. I remember when teaching students recovery from unusual attitudes under the hood, that while spins announce themselves pretty violently, a spiral dive is often an insidious killer that often gets recognized too late. They most often happen when descending and in a steep turn, rapidly eating altitude and gaining airspeed until an ugly end. I leave the conclusions to more experienced people that conduct these investigations, but I sense that this will be listed under pilot error. We can build likely scenarios all day about what caused this tragedy, but hopefully everyone should learn from these moments. It reminds us why we do the training, why our instructors keep hammering away at us about safety at all stages of flight, and to always keep learning. Do keep up the good work, and hope all your approaches are above minimums. And again, that's from Richard. Thanks.
That's a good analysis, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, it is. So, Steph,
yes.
What I'm not sure I understand completely the difference between a spiral dive and
I think he's talking about a graveyard spiral,
Oh, okay.
which we've discussed before, which is, he's talking about a spin, which, unless there's something very unusual going on, you're going to realize that that is a very unusual attitude and there's something quite wrong.
Yeah, doesn't feel normal.
Doesn't feel normal. A graveyard spiral is a little different though, because it typically happens when you don't have visual references. So you don't have your eyes telling you, hey, you're not in a normal position. And it usually occurs with very slight inputs to start with. So you make a turn. But if the turn continues and you don't come back to normal, your inner ear is basically telling you that, oh, now we're in straight and level flight and this is okay.
That's
and
the
yet the
new
turn
normal.
Yeah, the new normal, and the turn will continue and continue, and basically you're losing altitude in this turn until it reaches a point where you can't recover from it and results in a crash. So yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what he's referring to with the spiral dive.
And the insidiousness.
Correct. Yeah, often not well recognized because you're getting conflicting inputs from your sensory system. The vestibular system in the inner ear doesn't give you the correct cues there.
Yeah, your inner ear only really indicates acceleration. So when you actually start banking the airplane, and it's got
You
to be
feel it.
over 15 degrees a second, and at the end of that you can't perceive. Yeah, you feel that. But once you've got it in a banked situation, everything returns to normal. And if you were to close your eyes, it would feel as if you were straight and level.
Sure. And I think the if that turn continues for about 20 seconds or so is the usually the sighted time. So it's kind of a gradual turn, and when that persists for a long time, and then you don't recognize that you didn't come out of that turn.
I mean, isn't it cited as one of the most likely reasons for a crash, for inadvertent entry into cloud?
IMC.
Yeah,
Yep.
IMC. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you start turning, you're looking for outside visual cues to tell you if you're straight and level. You don't have those, and it's very hard to tell that if you're not watching your instruments and relying on those. It's hard to know if you've actually entered a turn or not a lot of the times, and that can just continue to the point where it becomes an accident.
Well said. Thank you, Richard, for your feedback, and hopefully we'll learn what did happen in this terrible accident. I just realized I don't think I did our coffee fund segment, did I? I think I skipped right over that.
Fix it in post.
So
No, I'm just
I
kidding.
think that I'm going to fix it right now live.
Okay.
So here we go. Sorry, bear with me, please.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Okay, the coffee fund is your way, dear watchers, listeners, to support the show. You noticed we don't have any advertisers on our show. Nope, it's listener supported, community supported, and we do appreciate that. And if you want to be part of this great group of folks that do that, you can do it a couple different ways. One, the classic method via PayPal, and since the last episode, we have some recurring payments from David Lieb, Chris Randall, Terry Liu, and a one-time payment from Philip Biggin. And so thank you very much, all of you, for contributing via the classic method. The other way to do it is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And we have some new producers. We have Andy Orzula, George Leslie, whom I met at a meetup in Toronto, and Sam Wiltzius. And so welcome all of you to the Patreon patron league, the coffee bar club, as Nick likes to call it. And also Magnus has been a patron of the show for quite some time, and he just did the same thing that Robert Fairbairn did last week. He doubled his patronage from $5 to $10 per episode.
Woo, thank you,
Magnus. So
man.
thank
That's
you very
brilliant.
much. Let's see. Let's do a
Wow.
Brilliant.
Wow.
and there we go. So thank you very much for that. And if you want to help us out financially, please head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. We will too.
Easy for you to
I
say.
crack myself up sometimes. Okay.
Hey, real
perfect.
quick, I think I left
Yeah.
out a crucial part of that graveyard spiral the description.
Not too late.
Ugh, I was gonna correct
Go
my
ahead.
error a second. No, it actually involves so after you've started the turn and it persists for a long time, but then you correct it, you get a false sense that you're perhaps turning when you're not turning, and then so you re-enter the turn. So I left out that extra part of
Oh.
it. There's more than one step. to it,
nasty.
but yeah, it's really not a good thing. So anyway,
glad
just wanted to throw that in there.
Glad I asked you about that. That's
I know you didn't, but well.
hope I never
Yeah.
experienced that myself. Okay. Moving on to item number. This is a fun one. Item number 5 and 6. These are actually they go together. and just like the two people that sent this in, Rebecca and Barbara. Rebecca being in the Philadelphia area, Harrisburg area, and Barbara being in the place, the Sherwood Forest, Nottingham, right? The Robin Hood thing. Isn't that where
Yes.
she's from? Nottingham?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
come
feel
on.
like I should know.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure. Sorry, Barbara.
Nick, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Sorry. Nottingham. We don't
Not-
say
Nottingham.
ham.
Nottingham.
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 There you go. That's perfect. That's very good.
I won't be able to do it again. All right. They sent us some feedback, video feedback with audio. And so I'm going to attempt to play this on the video. And of course, you folks who are listening to the audio only podcast will only hear the audio. So let's give this a shot, shall we? Here we go.
Oh, we're on. Yes. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody, APG and all the podcast community. I am now in Becky's car on our way to Philadelphia Airport. I'm going to be leaving the United States after a fantastic 10 days. Firstly in Chicago, then Oshkosh, and then in Pennsylvania. And I've had the most fantastic time with Becky. And I'm going to pass you over in a moment to Becky, but we're on our way. So, unfortunately, I actually have caught a cold, but we're going to get through this, aren't we, Becky?
That's right.
Putting out excuses.
So we're driving along the road on one of our many day trips, and I got really sleepy, so we started comparing songs that we knew, and I don't know how we got in Christmas carols, and we discovered that some of the Christmas carols in the U.S. and some in the UK are like the same words but different tunes. So I woke back up and I learned a new tune to one song. So we decided that for Christmas feedback, which I've never heard because I'm always too busy at Christmas time. I don't think I've ever heard APG at Christmas time. I guess I kind of don't have the disease. Sometimes maybe I go into remission at Christmas. But Barbara says that at Christmas time people put Christmas posts in. So we're gonna do feedback, a little medley of Christmas carols. We hope at least Captain Jeff likes this, and then he'll decide if he wants to share it or not. Okay, so don't film my face or my speedometer. I lost my voice this week too because we've talked so much. I've talked too much. We've laughed so much, and it's just crazy. So,
and I have also talked too much and laughed too much, and I have a cold. So I am going to be singing through my cold.
Yeah, that's right. So nobody judge us, all right? No judging.
I've got a sore throat.
We'll make you sing hymns, and then see how you feel. All right, not hymns. I mean Christmas carols. All right, here we go.
Okay. So which one do you want to do first, Becky? God rest you.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. From God our Heavenly Father, a blessed angel came, and unto certain shepherds brought tidings of the same, how that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. All right.
Okay.
Now for the new one. I don't know.
Okay.
You start.
We'll take it easy. All right. So this is the kind of British version of this carol. It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to men, from hands all gracious came. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they came, with their small wings unfurled, and still the heavenly music floats over all the weary world. Above sad and lonely plains, they bend on hovering wing, and ever o'er its faithful sounds the blessed angels sing. Oh, not bad.
Not bad.
Considering I've got a sore throat.
And I didn't know it. Okay.
Well done,
Dashing
Becky.
through the snow in an
MD-88. Gosh, this thing is old. I think it will be late.
Oh, wait.
Pasture call bells ring.
I think I have to stop it at this point.
Spirits on ice. Oh, what fun it is to ride on an old mud duck too.
Okay, I think they had to re-record this one. So here, I have to switch the video to the take 2. So bear with me here. Share screen again, and Chrome tab, and Rebecca and Barb 2. Share audio, and here we go.
Let's do it again.
Right, we're just going to do that MD-80 again. MD-88.
Yeah, it was dodgy before.
It was dodgy. Okay, so here we go.
Yep.
Dashing through the snow in an MD-88. Gosh, this thing is old. I think it will be late. Passenger call bell rings, asking for spirits on ice. Oh, what fun it is to ride on an old mad dog tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on an MD-88.
Merry Christmas!
Yay!
Merry Christmas, everybody.
That was awesome.
That was great.
Oh, that was brilliant. I love that last bit. That was fantastic.
There we go.
Pennsylvania.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you
girls.
so
Bye-bye,
much,
guys.
Becky and Barb.
Ladies.
Oh, man. Great singers, both of them, even with the
Yes.
cold, Barbara.
Much better than
and
I can do even well
That's not
when I'm
true.
not
No.
suffering from a
Steph,
cold.
Steph is actually a wonderful singer. She's just modest.
No, it's not true.
She's a better doctor.
That is true. Yes. I will stick to my day job. Thank you very much.
I will definitely stick to flying. Not. I shouldn't even be on. I can't even talk. I shouldn't even be on a podcast.
That is true. What are you doing here?
See
Get
ya.
out of here. Oh, man. That was so fun. That's the first time I believe that we've ever had somebody send us that kind of feedback in. So that was cool. Although, it was odd that if you're watching the video, the only thing you see is the road outside. And look at one point like they were going about 110 miles per hour.
I was actually just noticing, like it just looks so much like summer. There was this weird disconnect. Like there were like crops
Yeah,
growing in the field.
because it was.
It was green. I know it was after Oshkosh
Yeah,
in
they
July.
recorded, after Oshkosh when let's see. Oh, what's that? Is that Julie? I found some sound clips. Just garage door closing and opening. Wait a minute. Julie, welcome home. So, Dana, you were telling us that Julie is heading up to Boston. Is she doing that tonight?
Yep, she just departed the area. Driving.
She's shipping up to Boston. Is that
Yeah, I'm
correct?
not going to see her for Christmas, or I'm not going to see her for over a week. So
Well, I hope she has a wonderful celebration.
I hope so too. So I already miss her.
Wow, it's only been a few minutes.
I know.
That's sweet.
I just settling in that I'm not gonna, we don't ever go this long without seeing each other. So it's
But
it's
Dana,
gonna be a week.
it's like the same thing.
No.
Okay. Anyway, back to Barb and Becky. Thank you very much for that. They recorded that back right after their time in Oshkosh back in July. So that's what you call thinking ahead, a Christmas feedback thing in July. Wow, I'm impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, to continue, item 7. In episode, he starts off, howdy. Is he from Texas?
I don't know. Howdy.
Howdy. Yeah.
Howdy.
Oklahoma. In episode 400, you discussed the runaway trim incident on the Republic flight with only 6 souls on board. After listening to episode 403, the question remained as to why they were operating a flight with such a low passenger count. Although the slot theory is a possibility, I think the biggest reason this happens is due to the way regional airlines make money. Regional airlines, at least in the United States, are paid a predetermined amount to operate flights for the major airlines. In this situation, Republic has to complete the flight in order to get paid by American. They make the same amount of money for the flight whether there are 2 passengers or 76 on board. If Republic cancels the flight, they lose their check for that flight. What do they call it? Pay for departure? Is that what the term is for the
fee for departure?
Yeah, fee for departure. Thank you. So that makes sense now. I had not thought of that. Interesting. It just seems almost counterproductive to me.
I mean, over the 3 episodes that we've actually talked about it, we've hit pretty much every single.
So which one is it, Dana?
It can be any one of them.
Okay.
It really can be.
I guess it's one of those things where, on average, the flight is operating at a profit. So occasionally it happens that it's not. But in the grand scheme of things,
yeah,
it's going to go no matter what.
It's not a perfect system, is it?
It never is it?
No. No. Let's see. Texas Charlie writes in, keeping with the Christmas holiday theme. Merry Christmas, y'all. May your holiday be filled with joy and laughter and beer. I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
And cheers. And bourbon. We'll drink
and Trulies.
And gin.
I'm doing.
I've got any gin yet. Hang on a
Gin.
minute.
I still have some of this great gin soul from Hamburg.
I mean, you haven't drunk it. What's so bad with you?
Well, but I have so many bottles of gin from various places. I have an Italian gin. I have an English gin. I have this Hamburg gin.
He's swamped. He's getting to all the gins eventually.
Gin overload. But I do appreciate it. Keep it coming. And the best of friends. Oh, let me repeat that then again. May your holiday be filled with joy and laughter and beer and bourbon and gin and the best of friends. That should be the first one, right? You may be aware of the bad PR United has been getting recently regarding crew members accessorizing for Christmas. The airline is making an exception to its usual uniform policy to allow ground staff, flight attendants, and pilots to be a bit more creative in the spirit of the holiday season. To quote the company memo sent to airline staff, every year we commemorate the traditional holiday. Try that again. Too much gin. Actually, I haven't had any gin. Every year we commemorate the traditional holiday season by making an exception to our uniform guidelines. During the month of December, you may wear one of the following holiday accessories listed below. Only one? Accessories must be in good taste, in the spirit of the holiday, and not detract from your professional image. You must not alter your uniform in any manner. Adhere to all appearance standards, and remember, you represent United when wearing your uniform. For the females, they can wear a conservative holiday scarf, conservative earrings, one holiday necklace, conservative hair barrette, holiday hose / socks with slacks only. Huh. So if you're wearing a dress or skirt, you can't wear holiday.
Can't wear your holiday socks.
Well, but what about hose? I mean, that seems like it would go with a dress or a.
It's a family show, sir.
Maybe.
Okay. One holiday pin, and then the males, we can wear a conservative holiday tie, holiday socks, one holiday gin. Oh, pin.
Gin?
I got gin on my mind. The following items are not permitted. Okay. Ooh, this is where it gets really harsh. You cannot wear head adornments like antlers, Santa hats, halos, like as many of us, everybody except for me on the podcast right now are wearing Santa hats, holiday vests or sweaters or holiday aprons. Bottom line, this is Texas Charlie speaking again. Even to a Christian such as myself, sometimes a gaudy set of light up reindeer antlers is just the thing that may bring that Christmas magic back to a tired and frustrated traveler. I agree. So for the commercial pilots out there, if you showed up to work in a Santa suit, okay, now we're really pushing it. Would you be turned away from your flight or at least get a call from HR, i.e. Steph. How much holiday fun would your airline let you get away with? Inquiring reindeer want to know. Adios, Feliz Navidad, and thanks for a joyous year of AvGeek Talk, Texas Charlie. Okay. Yeah, I think the wearing a Santa Claus outfit would probably be pushing it over the line.
Save that for your last day of work if your last day of work happens to be Christmas Eve. Like retiring.
Yeah.
Actually, don't do that either.
I could do that.
You could.
Because I'd be retiring right around this time of year. I can wear a Santa Claus outfit. If I'm still flying, actually. So we'll see. What do you all think?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this, to be honest. I don't think there's anything wrong with some of the small accessories, a holiday tie, all of that type of stuff. I think that's perfectly fine and shouldn't be the least bit offensive to anybody. But yeah, in a professional setting, I think sometimes the more extravagant things are a little distracting sometimes. So Santa hats and stuff like that. Over the top costumes. Kind of unnecessary at a place of business. But just my thought.
Yeah, I mean, even on a lovely Christmas flight, there are going to be nervous passengers. There are going to be people who are a little uncomfortable and want to see a professional set of pilots walk onto the aircraft that they're about to climb on and trust their lives to. So I think it's lovely to have a few touches that make your uniform look more festive. A Santa suit, I think that's probably going a bit far.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's over the line. What do you think?
Santa hat, though.
No, yeah, that's but like the whole outfit.
A Santa beard. I used to.
I think Nick just could have
grow my
legitimately gotten away with it.
Yeah,
and no one would have said anything.
They wouldn't even notice.
Oh, it's actually. I mean, Nick. Your name is Nick.
Exactly.
Old Saint Nick. Yes.
That's the way he looks all the time. So.
Old Saint Nick.
Yes, I used to grow my beard out as I have done right now. In the last, all through the
good. By the way, I should.
Oh, thank you. So that by Christmas, it was pretty fluffy and looked good. So I used to put a red hat on, but I kept my uniform on, and I could, if I needed to, I just took the hat off, and now I was back to business again.
That's how he made it to full retirement, by keeping his uniform on.
We're all very thankful he did.
Yep.
All right. Keeping with Christmas greetings, Texas and LaShock says, "Greetings, Captain Jeff and APG crew. I was just going to take a little time to wish you all a very Merry Christmas." This is 14, by the way. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It seems kind of difficult to find things that relate to both aviation and Christmas, but I wanted to have some kind of holiday treat to share. So here's a video from a few years ago where the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, with the help of Tom Brokaw, present the story of the Candy Bomber, Colonel Gale Hal Halverson. I thought he might have passed on, but I looked him up and he's still around, 99 years old, which is incredible to me. That is incredible. The video is probably too long to play on air, not to mention copyright stuff, but I just wanted to share it with the community. I hope you all have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Take care. And to watch that video, he's right, we can't play it on here, but we will have that link to that YouTube video in the show notes. So thank you, Texas and LaShock, for that. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Mormon
Tabernacle Tab Choir. I probably should just Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Yeah.
And
no, they're wonderful. Yeah.
I watched that video and it brought tears to my eyes. It's amazing.
It is.
It's the story is so well told.
We can highly recommend.
Indeed.
Now, just going back to the uniform deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear my Santa hat.
Okay.
I'll wear it on the airplane.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm greeting people getting off the aircraft.
Sure.
But walking through the terminal, I won't have, I'll wear my regular hat. But
I wouldn't. Our company used to give us hats, Santa hats to wear. Well, give the cabin crew reindeer stuff, and so it was very much part of the company thing. But if you put a hat on, that's a bit different to putting a whole Santa suit on.
Yeah.
I think it probably comes down to the culture of the company and what they're trying to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the feedback here specifically says the following items are not permitted. Santa hats, really? Come on.
Yeah, that's maybe a little bit too restrictive, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry to digress, but I was actually looking up our uniform policy, and it doesn't really address it. Obviously, if it's not in there, you're not supposed to wear it. So
Yeah, but I think that use discretion, and I think this time of year, as long as you're not flamboyant about it and getting all crazy, I think that nobody's going to say a thing about it.
I would think not too. Thanks. Sorry.
We'll have to get selfies of you though with your Hannah hat on.
Of course.
Santa hat. What did I just say?
Santa hat on.
What's that?
Not the Satan
Hat
hat,
on.
the Santa hat.
Yes.
Okay, this is strong beer I'm drinking. Apparently, it's good.
It's not coffee in that coffee mug.
I think I might bring the Mensch on the bench and put him on the flight deck.
What's going on there, Dana?
He's chilling out. He says he wants some Manischewitz wine though.
Ah.
I told him I don't have any of that in my house.
So this I occurred before we hit the go live button, I think, or did we talk about this? Well, anyway, before.
No, it was after you went live. I listened to it.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Mensch on the bench, and it's a wonderful looking mensch.
It's a mensch
holding up, almost like he's doing the
break
John
dancing,
Travolta, staying alive kind of dance.
Oh yeah, that'd be the better description.
Anyway, very cool. I love it. It's kind of like a play on the Elf on the Shelf, Mensch on the bench. Lee, number 9, writes in, I was listening to episode 403 and I heard all discussing airplane nicknames, and Dana mentioned the Barbie jet. I've always heard the 757 referred to the Barbie jet because it's skinny, has long legs, and big cans. Narrow body, tall gear, and big engines in case there was any confusion. I've enjoyed the podcast and wish everyone a good day. Thank you, Lee, or LP. Must be another opposing basis listener. Yeah,
or it's my grandfather.
It's always kind of like, huh?
I said, or it's my grandfather. I'm not
That's your grandfather?
No, it's not. I don't think.
Okay. Well, and he's like 90 something years old, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere.
It was just his initials. So.
Yeah, Barbie jet. I've heard that term used a lot, and it's either referring to something that's kind of small, or it can be something such as Lee mentioned, like the 7.5, skinny, long legs, and big engines.
I had never heard that in reference to 757.
I haven't either, actually.
Yeah. So
okay, but that's a new data point.
It is a family show, folks. A family show.
Yes. And Matt,
HR will be in touch.
Agree.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Thank you. 10. Brian from Milwaukee, Wisconsin here. Longtime listener, first time feedbacker. I fly for a small cargo outfit based in southeastern Wisconsin and recently made the move to the left seat of a small Beech 99 airliner. We primarily provide logistical support for a nationally known courier based in Kentucky. As someone who is incredibly lucky enough not to have to be a CFI to build time before their first flight as a professional pilot, I'm wondering if it would have helped when I'm acting as part of a crew and not flying single pilot. I did take a few CFI lessons from my local flight school, but I found out that I'm not the best at explaining things to save my potential students from the agony of having to listen to me rambling on about the different types of ground maneuvers. I chose to find other means of building hours. I should note that I have an incredible respect for those that seek the CFI certificate, as they are a core fundamental to our country's pilot supply. More often than not, our flights are single pilot, but on some occasions I'll be paired with a newly hired first officer who is building time to also upgrade to captain, or waiting for the sim training on our larger Embraer 120s, as I have done. But back to my actual question. When you upgraded to captain, Were there any challenges you faced within yourself when passing the flight controls to the right? We do have standard operating procedures that dictate what the weather has to be for the first officer to take the leg. But as a new captain, I felt I needed to up the minimums just a little to give me time to react should anything go astray. Granted, it may be a little different in a legacy air carrier environment, but I quickly learned the meaning of standing by on the controls as someone who would or who was a CFI would have done with their students. Call me overly cautious, but I just want to make sure we're both staying safe. Thank you so much for the show. It made my 4-hour daily commute to my previous employer very enjoyable, and I look forward to each new episode. If anyone is in Milwaukee, I would love to treat you to an IPA at one of our local breweries on your next layover. Do we still fly into Milwaukee, Dana?
That's where I'm spending Christmas Eve.
Oh, there you go. Dana, you need to look
Milwaukee.
unless you already have some plans.
I have no plans, and it was Christmas Eve, so I haven't actually put
Brian's your man, although maybe he has other plans.
I'm sure he does.
Blue skies and stronger winter tailwinds, Brian. P.S. My wife, Amanda, also loves listening to the show on our long car rides together with our 1-year-old son, Milo, passed out in the back. Very, very likely because he hears my voice and then he just
gone,
passes out. Well, hello, Amanda. Big shout out to Amanda and Brian.
Hey,
Amanda. And the exact reason why I didn't reach out because
Hi,
Christmas
hi.
with a 1-year-old. Come on.
Milo, wake up.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Milo.
Well, if Milo was sleeping, no longer.
Yeah, not anymore. So I'm going to let those in the panel here that probably have better insight to this sort of thing.
I think your insight actually would be very knowledgeable for us, especially me, to hear what you think as to how I'm handling it versus what you as a very experienced.
Well, let's start with someone who's kind of in a more similar situation. Dana, I'm curious for your take on it since you just recently had the same experience.
Well, my take on this is that it was a very difficult transition because I, in the right seat, knew what I was dealing with, me. And the captains, are, more experienced, obviously, and I was there to back them up and be a good support unit, a good team player. Really is the way I have to look at that, to make sure that we worked well together. And coming over to the left seat, you've heard me say it before. Now I get to set the tone, and looking at my first officers, you try to gauge what their skill level is and how they handle it. Obviously, when Acme hires a pilot, they hire somebody that can already fly an airplane, and that's usually not the way I look at them. I look at how they're handling the checklist, how I set the flow up of when we're starting engines, when we're trying to get things done, the pace of the operation, right? So in other words, I'm really not trying to outpace my first officers. So that's how I kind of gauge before we even get to the runway, how this pilot is going to be in the operation as far as the rest of the trip goes. And I'm finding that most of the people that I fly with are very, very professional, really know how to handle the aircraft when they're in the air. I haven't actually even come close yet to even thinking about taking an aircraft away from somebody. So my confidence level with them is pretty good. And I think, a lot of it comes down to, really the level of training that we instill in our pilots, as well as, the type of pilots that we hire. Now, as far as, any structured minimums within the company. Yeah, we have structured minimums. The first officer can't fly below published Cat 1 minimums. Anything below Cat 1, the captain has to fly it. Was that 1800 RVR? Yeah, it's 1800.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm sometimes I have to look it up. I think that's 1,800 or whatever the published minimum, whatever that is, 3/4 mile, I think it is. Anyways, so really, I haven't really had to think about that. I've only had to think about, all right, is he legal to, or is she legal to shoot the approach, or do I have to shoot the approach? And if it's really dodgy, then we may say, go ahead and let's use the auto land. Let's just, every time I see that we have an alternate, I always test our auto land capability, because I'll make sure we can get in. And if it's looking a bit iffy, if it's right down to minimums, then maybe you can still fly the leg. We just use the auto land if I feel otherwise. But I haven't really dictated that, because I'm really confident in the ability of the pilots in the right seat. So that was a big thing for me. I'm not a huge control freak. I'm not going to sit there and micromanage every little thing. Don't tell somebody how to fly the airplane. We talk about it. That's part of my briefing. I'm not going to micromanage the aircraft. I'm not going to micromanage you. You fly the airplane how you want to fly it, but as long as you're within company specs and have an idea what you're doing, then I'm not being hit with unexpected circumstances, so that I'm better in the game. And as we teach at our company, is you get a pilot flying and pilot not flying. Well, the pilot not flying has to be as actively involved as the pilot flying to make sure you're monitoring everything. So I don't see that I'm backing off and not having my head fully in the game and ready. I'm always ready if I need to go ahead and come in any situation, but I don't really hold the FOs back at all.
I think that you have to consider the fact that our world is a little bit different than Brian's world, where you're flying with people that have much less experience. And so you're going to probably be a little bit more careful when it comes to what you're allowing your first officer to do, and as far as like following through on controls and that kind of thing. My philosophy has always been, if the person sitting to the right of me in that seat, he is not a brand new pilot. He has a lot of experience to get hired by Acme Airlines, one of the major legacy airlines out there, that he or she they know what they're doing. And my company is very good at screening out those that don't meet the standards that they expect from the people that are sitting there. So and again, I've been doing this for a long time, a lot longer than Dana has, and perhaps my attitude as far as being more laid back is affected by that. But I agree with everything that Dana said. That you are always actively, being the pilot, monitoring the situation. Having your hands in your lap or having your hands on the controls. It doesn't take long to move from one place to another. So it's something that you have to consider when you're flying with people that have maybe very little experience, or people like in Dana and my situation, they have a lot of experience. In fact, most of the people, I think, who came from the civilian ranks, sitting in that right seat with Dana and I, have already been captains in their previous airline. So it's not like they have, it's not their first rodeo.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Jeff, I mean, you just hit it right on the nail. When I was a captain at the regional airline, and again, going back to the level of experience, when I was a captain at the regional airline, I had people that just came out of flying 172s.
Right.
So my attitude at that point was a lot different. But then again, I was a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm a lot more experienced and not as much of a well, let me put it this way. I'm far more mature than I was when I was in my early 30s flying an RJ around than I am. I'm far more mature now. So I think my transition to captain at the major versus being in Brian's situation is, you're younger, probably younger, dealing with those new pilots, as you mentioned. So your radar has to be on higher because, of course, a 99, that's an old airplane. I mean, that airplane's been flying since the 70s, maybe even 60s technology, 70s technology. So, you're dealing with, unless they've updated the flight deck with newer avionics, you're using a regular it probably do have HSIs on there, but all old steam instruments. So, you have to keep them on a short leash. That would be my suggestion to you.
But I think that older technology stuff is like priceless, invaluable experience for these people that for the rest of their careers, and everybody that's just starting out now will never ever get to experience, most likely. So it's very good. Yes, Steph.
So I'm going to be brief here because I see Nick has probably reached his past his time that he needs to go to bed
Nick,
here. It's quite,
hang on there,
quite
man.
late for him. He looks like he's struggling just a bit. But the only thing I wanted to add, and I think you guys have probably touched on this in some way already, is that this is a new situation for you as well, Brian. This is a new experience, a new level of responsibility. I don't think there's anything wrong with increasing your minimums or your own personal level of being conservative in those situations until you gain more experience and more familiarity with how you are in that role. You need to become comfortable with that in and of yourself before you can be a little bit more relaxed with the folks next to you. And you'll gain that with time and experience, just like anything else. You'll know, you'll be able to recognize quicker when it's someone who might need to be just might need a little bit more backup from you versus someone who's a lot more comfortable without that close following. So that's all.
And old people like me, I'm so old that I'm in such a fog. I really don't know what's going on at all, and I really most of the time have no idea where I am. So
just get out.
Hey Jeff, we're still doing the show.
What?
This is still.
I'm
Airline
hearing
Pilot Guy show.
voices. Where are you, Steph?
I'm not sure if Nick's in the same boat with you. I think you're right there, Nick.
I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah, I can tell.
Okay, so darn it, I was so
We've
hoping to talk about electric beavers because that just sounds like an exciting topic to me.
Well, stay tuned for episode 406.
Yes, 406.
Yes. Before you run off, we have one that's a Christmas it's a short one.
Oh yeah, which
from
one?
Texas Analog Shock.
I thought
we already did that.
Have we done that one?
Yeah, we did that. I skipped already to that one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Sharpen up, Dana.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Jeff, about us being in a fog and?
Well, I was saying goodbye to Juliet.
Yeah, it was probably when you were off the.
Yeah,
exactly correct.
Well, we're in a Christmas fog, which is such a wonderful thing.
We love it.
Show title.
Yes, we do. And so this is the point of the show where, and if we went over 3 hours, that's okay because I don't think there's a likelihood that we won't be doing a show next week. So want to make sure
Ever again.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's always a possibility. The FCC is after us. Luckily, the FCC has no jurisdiction over podcasts.
I think Dana's lights have gone out.
Oh no!
Lights out.
Well, not
anyway.
Lights.
Power cut there, Dana.
Huh? I turn the lights out so I can have my hat showing off.
Very nice. Hey, so seriously, people listening to the show, thank you so much for listening. And if you're new, welcome to the community. I think you'll love it here. You'll love the people. The more you get to know these people, you'll never be able to escape, like the Hotel California. But it's a wonderful place to be. We so enjoy, the crew here enjoy doing the show every week. Well, I think they do. They say that they do every week. And we really appreciate you listening to us. And you can do that by watching us on the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to us via iTunes or amongst the incredible number of podcasting clients out there. My favorite is Overcast, but whatever. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for, if you have the chance to do it, reviewing the show on iTunes, telling people about the show. It's all good. We do appreciate it.
Called Apple Podcast nowadays.
Apple. Oh, excuse me, not iTunes. Yeah, very good. Apple Podcasts. And what else do we want to say? Well, we have a website that is a wonderful place to learn more about the crew, the community. merchandise. We have the Plain Tales dedicated page because Nick does these wonderful Plain Tales every episode, and he goes in and adds more content, pictures and other stuff there to supplement it. So make sure you check that out. And you can also subscribe to the Plain Tales as a separate feed if you'd like. We have a library, APG library, that Tiffany, our librarian, manages. And if you are a reader and you want to find a good book, that's a good place to go. So many more things there. So please check out the Airline Pilot Guy website. And we used to have apps, but we decided to stop doing that. And you can appify your or our site, airlinepilotguy.com, so that you have a little icon on your phone, and you can tap on that and get all of the access to the APG goodness that you can stand. And we're also on the social meds. The
social meds, the social
media, social meds, whatever we call it now.
One of those would be Twitter. So if you head over to Twitter and search for us, we're at APG Crew, all one word there. You can also find our individual Twitter information pinned to the top of that page should you wish to contact us individually. You can also head over to facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy. The community is all there and lots of good information sharing going on. And we hope to see you there as well.
Yes. And we also have a social media kind of thing called Slack. I'm sorry. Hillel, you need to get out of the shower, man.
Where's the soap?
Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it after the show. Come over here and tell us about Slack, please.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you, Hillel. Now you can go back and tell off.
Careful in there. It sounds dangerous.
You really do need to.
It doesn't sound like he actually
What the
left.
heck is on this hand towel, Jeff?
I'm sorry.
Was he just in there with a microphone?
Yeah. He
Disgusting.
listens to the show the whole time. He takes a shower. I mean, he's been in the shower for like 3 hours.
Oh God.
Using all my water. I don't know what he's doing
clean,
down
at
here in
least.
Roswell.
Clean.
He's always there. Anyway, thank you, Hillel, for managing the Slack thing. And until next time, wishing you a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. What else, Dana?
Happy Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us. And until next time, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Talons, Douglas.
Happy holidays, y'all.
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever it is. Enjoy it. Peace, happiness, and love to everybody. Bye-bye.
We love you, man. That's going to be a fun one.
Good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
Yeah,
All
that'll be an interesting one. Good job we're not doing one next week, because it'll take you a fortnight.
That's going to take me forever to
edit
do this one. Oh, okay. Recorders.
I never turned mine on.
I figured you wouldn't.
Listen, that would have
But
backed
your
my
computer,
computer to the
you're
max right now.
Lucky to be. Yeah,
I
I'm
know.
glad you didn't try.
I
to
was like,
get-
you know what? Just not
Yeah.
going to open any more programs.
Not gonna
Nothing else
tempt
needs to be running. It's fine.
I got to get my. Hang on. Keep talking.
Yep.
Keep talking.
Keep talking. Why does he need us to guide us back to his loudspeaker?
I have to know you're there because
Still
you're
here.
you're my light. You're my guiding light.
boy.
There's a Festivus.
This is my
the Festivus poll.
Festivus poll. I should have had that.
You're 3
here the
days
whole
early.
time.
It's December 23rd.
Oh,
correct?
okay. Never mind. You didn't see it.
What does it do?
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of the poll.
This is a mini poll. The actual Festivus poll is much larger.
Quite tall.
That's what she said.
That's what
what
she
is
said.
it?
Well, it's a Seinfeld thing. The comedy called Seinfeld. George and his family, his father made up they got tired of Christmas and Hanukkah and all the other holidays, and so
Yeah.
he made up this new holiday entitled Festivus.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yes,
sounds good.
It's a wonderful episode.
After
You
the
should
show
watch
tonight,
it.
we're going to have the airing of grievances.
The airing of grievances.
Stay tuned next week for Feats of Strength.
Excellent.
It's stupid, but it's funny. That's the kind of humor I like. Yeah, thanks everybody for. Oh wait a minute, I thought I turned it off. Hang on. Oh, there. Now it's off. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah. As far as next week, let's see. Christmas Day is Wednesday, so we're all going to be very busy leading up to, I would imagine, Christmas Day. My birthday is the day after Christmas, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get
Happy
crazy.
birthday! Yay.
Happy birthday!
Maybe I'll do a show on my birthday, and anybody that happens to be around can
Boxing
join me for
Day.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
the Boxing
possibility.
Day, or what's a Feast of Saint Stephen, the first Christian martyr, got stoned to death.
What, he smoked too much?
No, it's like real stones.
Oh,
thrown at his head.
A little more serious.
Yeah, it was like not as pleasurable as the kind of stone.
Where was health and safety?
OSHA wasn't there. Is that what you call your OSHA over there? Health and safety?
No, that's what we call it here, OSHA.
OSHA, it's here.
No, but I mean health and safety.
Oh,
What is that?
health and safety.
Yeah,
All
is
right, it's
that what
probably
you call
Ministry of something. Yeah. Oh.
the Royal
Health and
Ministry of
Safety.
OSHA?
I don't think so.
Anyway,
I feel like we need to.
Yeah.
Oh, I was say I feel like we need to let Nick get to bed here.
Yeah, Nick, you're struggling, man.
That's right. Last thing, I didn't have any input, so I just.
It's late over there. What is it? After midnight?
It's all
1
right.
o'clock?
1:01.
Oh man. So that car, that must be fun to drive that thing, huh?
It's absolutely izzy wizzy, very special. It's got it's all sorts of toys and gadgets, and it's fast and fun. It's not the fastest or the funnest because they do an RS, but for what I wanted, it's absolutely perfect. Except it's got these really sporty bucket seats, and my ass doesn't fit in them. I don't think I've got a particularly huge ass, but
No. I've never I mean, when I've felt it, it never felt that big to me.
I can imagine if you're having problems fitting into it, Nick, then I would not fit into it.
You probably wouldn't. No, you'd have to hover.
It's a Steph-sized car.
Yeah,
Or
it is
Steph-sized
definitely
seats.
Are you,
sized.
are you going to take me for a ride in it if I show up in Heathrow in
Oh, for
January?
sure. Absolutely. We'll go and get some tickets.
And unfortunately, you have to pay them, Jeff. Sorry.
Wait a minute. I'm sure I want this deal.
At the point, I'll have to go on your license.
The coffee fund.
Coffee fund will pay
for the tickets.
speeding tickets.
Because I haven't had it up to the full blown 155 yet. So
155. Are there any roads where you could actually manage that in the UK?
oh, plenty, but not legally.
These roads,
sketchy.
speaking of roads, they have a very loose definition of that term over there. When I was over there for Riot in Farnborough last year, some of those roads that we were on, I'm thinking these are not roads.
Have you had
These
the
are-
experience of coming around the corner and having farm equipment staring at you? So one of you has to back up, and it's never the farm equipment that backs
I
up.
don't know if
There's a
we did
large
that, but
truck.
we were in these fields, and like whatever was growing out there was like 12 feet high or something like that. And there was only room for the vehicle that we were in on that road.
Oh,
It's a two-way road. Yeah.
No, it
Single
wasn't a two-way road at all.
Single
What?
track road with passing places, they're normally referred to as.
I didn't see a lot of passing places.
No, they're not that common. So when you come to nose with someone, you can't get past them. One of you has to reverse back to find a passing.
That's what I mean. Yes, it's
crazy.
Had the pleasure of that happening.
But
once,
I've
at
got a
least.
camera now, so I can reverse backwards and watch my camera and all that stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is exciting. That's for sure. That is exciting.
It's great color too.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a beautiful color. I love the color on it.
And the black. It looks very smart.
Yes.
I like that.
Unlike
So I'm
you.
very happy, chappy.
Yeah,
Excellent.
cool.
Excellent.
Let's bear in mind, it is the only new car I have ever bought and the only one I ever will.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
I haven't had a lot of new cars either, but it's fun, isn't it? They have that new car smell.
Did it, because you went and picked it out and all the specs and stuff, did the window sticker have your name on it?
No.
Oh.
A window sticker with my name on. No, I know it did have all the everything that I picked out, which is rather nice. But
I bought a Jeep one time that I customized because I couldn't find one with a manual transmission, which is bizarre. But when I took delivery of the car, the window sticker had my name on it.
Oh, very good.
I bet it said Dr. Steph, world famous.
That's right. That's
The
exactly
world
what it
famous
said.
Dr. Steph.
World famous.
Mine had Tosser scratched on the paintwork with
No
someone's
buff out.
key, but no, didn't have my name on it.
All right.
That's too bad.
Well, let's do this. Let's end the broadcast.
Hey,
and-
Nick.
Yes.
Yeah, mate.
Oh, yeah. We'll do it offline.
Okay.
Oh, no, everyone wants to know what you're going to ask now. You have
Nope.
to say now.
I'm glad I bought Julie a ticket. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Flight's oversold by 16.
Ew. Well, anyway, thanks everybody that is watching live, and those of you who are watching after the fact, the video. We do appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you again on a
Absolutely.
future episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a wonderful Christmas, everybody. Cheers.